A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Five bells. Stand by all stations.
Attention, all districts. A 5-alarm fire. 5 bells. Move in immediately.
That's it. Let's go!
Let's go! Firefighters! Presenting Firefighters, the true-to-life story of our unsung heroes who stand ready to ride by day or night against our most murderous enemy, the demon of fire. In a moment, we'll join Deputy Chief Dan Moore, who's taking Chief Cody's place while the chief's away to a fire convention, and rookie fireman Tim Collins at the fire in the 12-story Boettcher building. A few moments ago, Chief Moore had fought a losing battle to confine the blaze to the basement, but in spite of the heroic efforts of the engine company men, the blaze had finally reached the elevator shafts. As Chief Moore and Private Collins concentrate on the difficulties of the fight ahead, there's one complication in this setup they don't yet know. It concerns the whereabouts of the pal of Tim's young brother Jimmy, Jack Carson. And if you've forgotten where he is, well, you'll get an exciting reminder in just 1 minute. Let's go, firefighters. Let's join Deputy Chief Moore and rookie fireman Tim Collins to check up on the problem as they see it at the moment. The giant engine company pumper has already been hooked up to the standpipes of the big building, and at this moment is pumping a heavy pressure stream to the 5th floor, where firemen are trying to stem the flames blocking the stairway on the floor above. But Deputy Chief Moore is on the street level, contemplating with anger the difficulties of getting his equipment down a street torn up for repairs. He knows it's impossible to get the huge aerial ladder truck anywhere near, but he doesn't know how much he's going to need it in a minute. For Tim Collins is just now talking with his brother Jimmy.
You see, Tim, this woman dropped a note from a window way up high. Jack and I were around back, and the note said she was locked in someplace, and Jack said he'd go up and let her out.
Wait a minute. Jack's in this burning building, Jimmy?
Well, he said the fire was in the basement and you'd have it out any minute.
How long ago was this?
Gosh, about 10 or 15 minutes ago, sir.
It was about 10 minutes ago that fire got away from us. Reached the elevator shaft, Tim.
Yes, sir. What floor was this woman on, Jimmy?
I'm sure it was the 8th floor. I counted up to where she was waving at us, around back there.
Chief, couldn't Jack have come down the front stairway?
Sure he could. He went up the back stairs, but he said he'd bring her down the same way everybody else got out.
I'm sorry, Tim, but I had men on all those floors as far high as the 5th. They'd have seen him if he'd come down.
I guess we can forget that. The fire blocked off the stairways first, from what I heard.
Well, gee whiz, what's happened?
Well, the fire got into the elevator shaft. It's already burst out on the 6th and 9th floors, Jimmy.
Oh, gosh, I hope Jack hadn't started down. He wasn't on that 6th floor.
Now, don't talk like that, young man.
Oh, it's all right, Chief. We don't have much choice any way you look at it. At best, Jimmy's pal Jack is probably up there somewhere, high up in this building in a spot we can't get to him.
Oh, come now. What kind of talk is that, Chief?
Well, look at those 35-foot ladders set up in case the fire spreads down, Chief. What good are they? Oh, what I wouldn't give to see that 85-foot aerial ladder going up right this minute.
I'd get the aerial truck through if I could, if the street wasn't torn up. You know that.
Yes, sir.
You can't get up to Jack to get him down?
Well, I don't know, but we're sure going to try. Private Collins.
Yes, sir?
Weren't you telling me you had brushed up on your scaling ladder technique?
Oh, of course. You'll let me try it, Chief?
I can't see any other way of reaching the 8th floor, so break it out, son, and meet me up on the 5th.
Yes, sir.
Hey, wait for me, Tim. I want to see this.
Well, then you'll have to hurry, Jimmy. And when I'm ready, you'll have to go back behind the police lines where you won't be underfoot.
Oh, okay, I know my place. This is the rescue company truck, isn't it?
Yeah, right. This is the scaling ladder I'm lifting down now.
Gee, just a long stick with rungs across it to climb up on. Hard to imagine it can save lives sometimes.
Well, it certainly isn't a solid, heavy piece of apparatus, but it's 12 feet long. Long enough to reach from the window of one floor to the window on the floor above.
You just reach out and hook that claw on the end of it over the windowsill on the floor above,
Yeah, that's right, Jimmy. Just like they did at the demonstration this morning. And if you've hooked it firmly, you climb up. You haven't?
Well,
I know. It's a long drop down.
Right. Those things I don't think about. Don't see why I shouldn't be able to scale that wall from the 5th floor to the 8th without a bit of trouble.
But what about the flames coming out the windows on the 6th floor?
I'll have to find a section where there aren't any. Somehow, Jimmy, I'm going to get up there. That pal of yours is going to need help bad.
On the 8th floor, high above the street level, sandwiched between burning floors above and below, Jack Carson is having troubles of his own. As he works his way along the smoke-darkened corridor of the office building, the door ahead of him suddenly opens, and a small, slight woman hesitates a moment and then stumbles off in the opposite direction.
Stop! Mrs. Lane, stop, I tell you. Don't go that way.
What difference does it make, Jack? We're trapped. You said so yourself. I couldn't wait there by myself any longer. I'm afraid.
Guys, so am I, but we can't lose our heads. I wanted you to stay in there out of the smoke.
Stairway. Let's try the stairway again.
I told you the fire on the 6th floor has blacked them both. You can't get down the front or the back either.
But I looked out the window. There are no flames coming from the windows right below us. That floor hasn't caught on fire yet.
Look, you follow me, Mrs. Lane. Come on.
Oh,
take my hand. I know how you feel about even getting down one more floor, but you never live to make it.
But the fire hasn't reached it.
Look at the smoke pouring up those stairways.
Oh.
That's just as bad as fire. Those fumes could kill you.
Why are we going in here?
Because I found this office looks right down on the trucks and everything else.
Oh.
We gotta get their attention, Mrs. Lane.
And then what?
Oh, think about that. Help me open this window, please, sir. Safer in here with the door closed than we would be anyplace else.
Oh, why did this have to happen? Why?
That reminds me. It's the first chance I've had to ask you how come you got locked in. The minute I found you in that office, we discovered we were trapped.
Why, I'm a cleaning woman here. Jackie, I just started to work in that inner office.
That was a tough break for you. The spring lock was on the outside, wasn't it?
Yes. One of the secretaries must have closed the door and I didn't notice it. That is till I heard the fire alarm.
Oh, I guess whoever closed that door heard it at the same time and ran like anything. That's why I found the
reception door open.
Yeah.
Oh, thank heaven for that.
Now you forget all about it. Get some handful of paper with me.
Huh?
Yeah, help yourself here.
How can you be so calm? And what in the world we do with the paper?
Throw it out the window. Whole streams of it.
Huh?
Like there was a big parade below. And the firemen will see our position in the building and...
Oh, and then what, Jack? Even if they know the exact room we're in, how can they possibly get to us?
Well, they'll find a way, I hope. The firemen will think of something. It's their job. Ain't better, because it's a long way down. Lean out and listen, Mrs. Lane.
All right.
You can just about hear the pumper.
Meanwhile, 3 stories below, Jack and the cleaning woman, amid the heavy lines strung through the corridor for the firemen fighting the blaze just above, Deputy Chief Moore stands waiting for rookie fireman Tim Collins. Now he sees him coming up the stairway, the scaling ladder over his shoulder.
Over here, Tim. Quick, into this office here.
Yes, sir. Will I have to worry about flames from the windows right above, Chief?
Not yet, but any minute, I'm afraid. But this is the spot, son. The darndest shower of paper you ever saw just poured down from directly above here.
Must be Jack, sir, letting us know where he is. Good for him.
Yeah, that's a break.
That's sir.
Getting up yourself will be a cinch compared with getting down.
I know, sir. I haven't forgotten that woman who was locked in. I wonder if Jack's found her and got her out.
Easy does it now, Tim.
Yes, sir.
Watch that pole. Slide it up as close to the wall as you can.
Yes, sir. Remind me to tell you how Jimmy lost a homemade scaling ladder by swinging it out too far.
I'll be here to hear it when you get back, son.
Yes, sir. Let me straddle the sill, Chief.
Yeah.
Yeah, you keep your head in. All right, I'm going to turn the iron hook at right angles now. It'll smash through the window pane on the floor above.
Well, that does it. But pull that pole down hard now.
Yes, sir.
Make sure that claw is firmly hooked up there.
Yeah, right, sir. I can't afford any mistakes now. Yeah. Well, sir, here's where I start climbing.
Good luck, Tim. On this floor, and the one above, and the one above that.
Jack Carson and the woman he helped are no longer trapped between burning floors high in the Boettcher building. The fire is beginning to move up on the very room they're in. Well, how can Tim get past the flames below as he works his way slowly up the frail, dangerously swaying ladder? Will he be in time? Be sure to listen to our next exciting episode of The Firefighters. Now, boys and girls, in just a moment, Deputy Chief Jan Moore will be back with a very important word for all of you in the Firefighters Brigade. But first, here's a message for you. And now, here is Deputy Chief Dan Moore with a special message for all in the Firefighters Brigade. Deputy Chief Moore.
Attention, firefighters. This is Deputy Chief Moore back again, boys and girls. I know Chief Cody, who'll be back with you in a few days, has already told you about fuses. But I want to mention them again. Never play around with fuses or the fuse box in your home. Fuses are safety valves, and if one is burned out, it indicates a short circuit or overloading. You let your parents change them, but you might watch for one thing. Don't let anyone insert a penny or any coin or piece of metal back of the fuse to make better contact. That's mighty dangerous business. Well, that's all. Until next time, this is Deputy Chief Moore saying so long.
Deputy Chief Dan Moore and the young rookie fireman Tim Collins will be back on the same station the next time you hear...
That's it. Let's roar!
Let's go! Firefighters!
Get this and get it straight. Crime is a sucker's road, and those who travel it wind up in the gutter, the prison, or the grave. It started with an Indian gift of a piece of pottery and led to a brown bear and moccasins, an archaeologist, much laughing water, and finally, death in an alley. But just to make matters worse, the Indian giver was a female and 100% genuine, hot-blooded Apache.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of mystery, comes his most famous character and crime's most deadly enemy, as we present The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Now, with Gerald Moore, starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's exciting story, The Indian Giver.
By day, the industrial heart of any city is just so much steel and stone streets, jammed full with the raucous sounds of 1,001 different machines. But by night, all of that is gone, and there are only endless, smooth-sided, lonely canyons that overflow with a steady humming silence that everywhere hangs like a distant echo of the day that's passed. And Los Angeles was no exception at 9 o'clock at night, as I pulled up and parked in front of a grace-curtained storefront on a deserted downtown street that marked the showroom of the wholesale curio dealer who had telephoned my office an hour earlier. And in a Dutch accent laced tight with worry, it urged me to call on him at once. A raised gold lettering on a side door that showed a strip of yellow light at the threshold said Alex Van Noord, private, in an ornate 18th century script. So when I knocked, I was ready for something continental with thick bifocal glasses. When the door swung open, my jaw dropped to my chest, and I couldn't help gaping because the huge V of a man in front of me, in cheap, snug clothes who had dark hair, dark skin, and darker eyes, had to be no less than a full-blooded American Indian. Moccasins and all.
What you want?
Mr. Van Noord, is he in?
Name your business.
Well, it's personal. What's yours?
Hate. For those who would destroy our culture. Oh!
Mr. Marlowe. Mr. Marlowe, let me help you up, sir. I'm Van Noord. Are you all right?
Oh, sure, I'm fine. Hey, that Injun, he Certainly can hit hard,
Oh,
huh?
yes, I know. He also struck me, doll.
Oh?
I tell you, Mr. Marlowe, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's also a little confusing, Mr. Van Noord. Exactly why did you call me in the first place?
Oh, well, it began this morning when I received a shipment of Indian curios from my buyer in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Oh?
Well, everything in the crate was in order, except one extra piece of pottery, a bowl.
Bowl? Indian bowl?
Yes.
Oh.
It appeared no place on the invoice. Oh, I didn't pay much attention to it till I noticed that the 2-inch wide band of inscriptions near the top were not like any others I'd ever seen.
Inscriptions, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean those Indian signs, broken arrow, deer wigwam kind of stuff?
Yeah, so my curiosity was aroused, and I called my representative in Santa Fe.
Uh-huh.
However, he knew nothing of the bowl either, so finally, well, I put it in my display window there and forgot about it. Until about noon, when a frail, sandy-haired man stepped in.
You know his name?
No.
Uh-huh.
Only that he said he was an archaeologist and that he wanted to buy the bowl.
You refused to sell it, huh? Why?
For 2 reasons, Mr. Marlowe. One, I could see that he was fighting hard to control his enthusiasm. And 2, I had no idea what to charge for the bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I told him to come back tomorrow again, and then I removed the bowl from the window. It wasn't until 5 o'clock that the second visitor appeared.
Another archaeologist?
No. A beautiful girl named Mona Waters.
Oh.
She was very sophisticated, wore an expensively tailored white, smart suit, no jewelry she wore whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
She described the bowl I had placed in my storeroom perfectly, and then asked if I had seen such a piece of pottery or if I had one for sale. I said no.
Same reasons?
More or less.
Mm-hmm. Anything else, Mr. Van Noord?
Well, there isn't much more. The young lady gave me her address, the Walker Hotel on Wilshire Boulevard, room 515.
Walker Hotel.
Asked me to call her if I came across a bowl like the one she described. Then she left. Naturally, my interest at this time was near the bursting point.
Naturally. What'd you do about it?
The only sensible thing I knew of. At 6 o'clock, I closed my place and I went to the public library to borrow a book on hieroglyphics of the Indians of the Southwest. When I got back, I found the rear door forced and poof, the bowl was gone.
And you called me?
Yes. Then this Indian shows up. He claims I would rob his people of everything, and then he hit me.
Makes perfect sense to him, no doubt.
Yes. No. Will you try to recover the bowl for me, please?
Well, if you can answer one question without stumbling, yes.
Huh?
Why no police, Mr. Van Noord?
Because objects of art, Mr. Marlowe, aside from their intrinsic worth, and the clay bowl has none, are only valuable for resale. Create a public disturbance, such as the police, and the thief will destroy the object and another day steal again.
Mm-hmm.
No, please, you try, Mr. Marlowe. Huh?
Yeah, I'll try, all right, Mr. Van Noord. And when it comes to our two-fisted brave who's so crazy about the preservation of Indian culture, I'll try real hard. Good night, sir. Van Noord's enthusiasm and the $100 he pressed into my hand before I left were encouraging, and I drove straight to the Walker Hotel on Wilshire Boulevard, where a moment after I entered the plush lobby, encouragement came once more. Because gliding from a travel agency booth toward a cocktail lounge was what my client had described as beautiful girl, expensively tailored, smart white suit, no jewelry whatsoever. But when we were both inside and at adjoining stools at the bar, where the soft lights accented her high cheekbones and jet black hair, I knew that Mr. Van Noord had skipped something important. Because in spite of a full mouth, neatly rouged, eyebrows penciled come hither, and a coiffure shingled vintage 1949, Mona Waters could also be full-blooded American Indian, which is what I was working on when she turned, blew a smoke signal in my face, and spoke with an accent that was about as Apache as Vassar.
Don't let me make you lose your place, but do you mind telling me why you're staring? I collect the reasons for a heartache. You know, like some people save stamps.
Uh-huh. And others pottery.
Who are you?
A ceramics fiend named Smith. Now, Mona, let's talk about you, huh?
Why?
Because I've already been offered $10,000 for the bowl.
What?
Good enough?
You have the bowl where?
Well, not in my pocket, honey. It's too bulky. I've got it tucked safely away outside in my car.
Oh?
Yeah, you know, you didn't hide it very well after you stole it from Van Noord.
You've been in my room.
Could be. Now, do we talk business, yes or no?
Yes. What do you want to know?
Well, for one thing, what's the bowl to you?
Everything. It's mine. All mine, via primogeniture.
Which is Apache for what?
Listen, Mr. Smith. I'm an Indian, all right, and an Apache at that. But I was born in a duplex, not a teepee. I drink martinis, not firewater, and I've got a Mills College diploma and an IQ that'll probably make yours look sick, so let's clear the air in a hurry.
Yeah, well, that's clear enough.
Now, smart boy. My late Uncle George Waters, also known as Chief Laughing Waters, giggle if you want to, owned the bowl you want $10,000 for.
So?
So a long time ago he willed it to my father. However, my father died a year ago, leaving only me as heir apparent. Hence that bowl is mine. All mine, via primogeniture, which brings us right back to where we were.
Except you haven't mentioned why the bowl means so much to you.
And I won't.
No, will you pay the $10,000, huh?
I didn't say that. And I won't say anything more until I see that bowl. Now, I've got to make a couple of calls. Should take about 20 minutes. After that, I'll be in my room. Please call before you come up. And if you don't have the bowl,
don't come up. Okay, baby, fair enough. So long. It had been the kind of conversation piece wherein each party's quite sure that the other's a liar, but not quite sure why. So a moment after I was on the sidewalk and out of Mona's sight, I darted for the side of the hotel in the rear entrance where I made my way to a self-service freight elevator that got me to the 5th floor, just as the Apache with Gloss closed the door to a room at the far end of the carpeted hallway. I was about halfway there when it came. The door to 515 wasn't locked, and when I threw it open, I found about what I'd expected. Mona slumped in a corner of the room, pride heard only, and opposite her a wide-open window, which I figured led to a fire escape, until I was standing next to it and saw that there was nothing but sheer wall that plunged 5 stories to the sidewalk below. And on a line with the hotel's 4th floor, a rooftop, that at best was a good 15 feet away. When I closed the window and turned back to the room, Mona was already on her feet.
That sly jerk. He waited till I had the door closed behind me, and then he swung. Oh, brother, when we meet again.
Oh, Mona, who? Did he get the bowl?
Get the bowl? I thought you had that, Smith.
I was kidding, and you know it. Now, once more, who was it? His name, Mona?
Jimmy Brown Bear.
Jimmy which?
Brown Bear. Smitty, a lot of Indians have Indian names. It's a custom. Try not to fall apart every time you hear one.
I will if you'll stop being persecuted. I think Indians are all good Americans. Now tell me about the big brown bear.
Okay.
All right.
He's absolutely sold the bowl, the priceless tribal heirloom the white man's trying to steal. He's plain nuts. Who else would try a jump like that from a 5th-story window?
Yeah. It's quite a hop. If he actually made it.
What do you mean if? Nobody fell.
No. Maybe nobody jumped either. Maybe you make up heap big story, baby. Hide bowl here in closet, then fall on floor. Tell Wild Tail a screwball Apache. That'd be smart.
Yeah, heap. But also smart if you take long nose out of Injun girls' affairs before it gets blown off. Stand still, Buster.
Tomahawk, caliber 38. How unfriendly.
But effective. Now, Smith, what's your real name?
Sammy Blue Ox. My father calls me...
Junior, let me clear up a very important point. That Indian bowl, in some strange way, is the answer to the location of enough lost Spanish gold to keep you, me, and everyone we ever met off the breadline from here on out.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but the point you were going to clear up.
Just this. I've got a dandy idea where I can find both the bowl and Jimmy Brown Bear right now. That's something I want to do all by my lonesome. Now back into that closet and keep quiet.
While you head where?
On the warpath, via bus. I'm a hot-blooded Apache, remember? So long, baby.
There are times when things look black enough without staying put in a dark closet. So I kicked to the lock, splintered the casing, and walked out in room 515 just in time to hear a timid knock on a hall door. When it opened up, one frail, sandy-haired man wanted information.
Oh, I beg your pardon, sir. Can you possibly tell me where I can find Miss Mona Waters?
Who are you?
My name is Clark Erskine. I'm an archaeologist.
Yeah, I'm sorry, friend. I can't say any more than Miss Waters is out after a wild-eyed Apache who's got a piece of pottery tucked underneath his arm.
What? Oh, not the bowl. It's supposed to be in Van Nord's place. Not Jimmy Brown Bear.
Yeah, right on both counts, Mr. Erskine, but what makes the name Brown Bear ring a bell? You two met before?
Well, we certainly have. Why, that idiot has hampered every archaeologist who has so much as set foot in New Mexico.
Well, now that you've mentioned it, Mr. Erskine, why your keen interest in the bowl? What does it mean to you?
What does it mean to me?
Yeah.
Well, my good man, those inscriptions circled around it are going to prove invaluable. Possibly another Rosetta Stone. An open sesame to the countless undecipherable writings we've already collected.
About Spanish gold, maybe, huh?
Spanish gold? Oh. Well, sir, what are you talking about?
Nothing. Look, Erskine, one question. How did you know that Mona Waters was staying here at this hotel?
It wasn't simple
How
to
bad?
learn. When Mr. Van Nord refused to sell the bowl to me until tomorrow, I wanted to be certain that he also didn't sell it to anyone else. So I watched his showroom.
Oh, that's smart.
When I saw Miss Waters there, I recognized her at once as an Apache. And I followed her here, where I found out her name and room number. Now, I'm going to wait for her until she returns. I'm not going to give up. That bowl means too much.
Wait a minute. Hold it, Erskine. You happen to know Jimmy Brown Bear's hometown? Come on, quick.
Well, yes, I do. It's Secona, New Mexico.
Secona, New Mexico?
Yes.
By bus. Thank you, friend. I'm sorry to have to leave you to do your waiting alone, but I got to catch a bus.
But where, Mr. Marlowe?
At the downtown Central Bus Depot to put cart before horse, to turn tables, a switch. In short, Mr. Erskine to track an Indian. So long.
In just a moment, the second act of Philip Marlowe. But first, you meet many an old friend from the wide field of music every Sunday afternoon when the Choraleers and the Symphonette are heard on most of these same CBS stations. This Sunday, the fine voices of the Choraleers will recall such old favorites as I've Been Working on the Railroad, The Best Things in Life Are Free, and Janine, I Dream of Lilac Time. The Symphonette will bring you the Overture from the Bohemian Girl, a Strauss composition, and a stirring march, among others. Be sure to hear the Symphonette and the Choraleers to find your old friends and favorites every Sunday. Now, with our star, Gerald Moore, we return to the second act of Philip Marlowe and tonight's story, The Indian Giver.
Tracking an Indian over the busy concrete of downtown Los Angeles sounds a lot tougher than it turned out to be. Apparently, a 6'4" Apache in a full-crowned black hat and moccasins was an oddity even in a city of oddities. And everyone who'd seen him remembered him, from the guy behind the bus depot's ticket desk to the newsboy outside the flop house nearby, where Jimmy Brown Bear had made camp. The next bus was still 45 minutes away, so I decided to visit the flop house. But Jimmy Brown Bear must have seen me coming and was expecting trouble, because when I stepped into the hall, I saw him duck out the back door to the alley. I ran after him and watched him turn down what would have been a dead end to a normal man, but Jimmy made a jump at a 9-foot wall, caught the top, and was pulling himself up when it happened. Jimmy stiffened on the wall. When the second shot came, he dropped rigidly like a poisoned fly and lay very still. I started over to him, but stopped at the excited voice of a cabbie running toward me from the open end of the alley.
Hey, mister. Hey, what happened? I heard a couple of shots here and I... Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's what you heard.
Holy mackerel. Hey, wait. That's the Indian.
You mean you knew him, too?
Yeah, I hauled him around in my cab tonight. Who did it, mister? You?
Don't be silly, will you? The shots could have come from any place. Any one of those windows, his own fire...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Well, between those buildings there, that... Hey, that dame running for the street. Will you get out of my way?
Not so fast, buddy. You know her?
Yes, I know her. Mona Waters. Brother, will you get the cops over here right away, will you? I gotta catch that girl.
No chance, mister. She's long gone.
Oh, no.
Marlowe, is that you?
Van Nord.
Oh, I certainly didn't expect to find you here. What in the world is going on here?
Among other things, murder.
Yeah, it's that Indian, Mr. Van Nord. The same one.
What? Good heavens. Mr. Marlowe, did this happen because of the bowl?
No doubt. Mona Waters just got away between those two buildings.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure she's the one who took the bowl out of your place tonight because Jimmy Brown Bear got it away from her later. Now, she's got it back again and he winds up like that.
Then you think the girl killed him to recover the bowl?
Right now, I'm too balled up to think anything. Hey, just a minute. How do you manage to show up here?
Why, I started home in this man's taxi and found out that he was the one who brought Mr. Brown Bear to my shop tonight.
Yeah, that's right. I picked the Indian up right out here on the corner.
So we came down here because I thought if we found where the Indian was staying, it might be a help to you, Marlowe.
You were waiting in the cab when he was shot?
No, I started into this place alone, and then I thought better of it and came out to get you, cabby, to come in with me. And then I heard the shots.
Mm-hmm. Now, look, Mr. Van Nord, you better keep your nose out of this mess. Huh? Go on home and sit on your curios. I'll call you when I got something. Assuming that my client's story was true and that he did have the cabbie to back him up, I got in my car and headed back to the walkout house. I parked at the side of the hotel and started for that convenient rear door again when I saw the commotion of half a dozen excited passers-by bending over a man stretched out on the sidewalk.
Hey, how do you like that? It's enough to make a fatalist out of you, ain't it?
Absolutely. What happened?
Why, that poor guy there is walking along minding his own business and practically gets his back broke by a hunk of pottery some jerk must have heaved out of one of them windows up there.
Pottery? You mean a bowl, maybe?
A bowl? I don't know. It broke all the smithereens. It was plenty heavy, though. It was about... Hey, look. Here's a chunk of it.
Let me see that. Oh, sure. Brown clay with symbols carved on it. Indian symbols. Listen, buddy, what window did that come out of? Anybody see?
No. They're all dark up there. We can't figure it out. Hey, what's the matter? Where you going?
There was no doubt about it. A broken piece of pottery I'd clenched in my hand must have come from the Indian bowl. I ran inside, rode the elevator up to the 5th floor again, and beat it down the hall to 515. Sprawled out on the floor inside was Clark Erskine, the archaeologist, making a valiant but wobbly effort to get back on his feet. I dropped the chunk of bowl in my pocket and gave him a hand. Come on, fella. Up you go. Come on.
Was it?
All right, take it easy. Now sit over here and tell me what happened to you.
Where am I? Oh, who are you?
Marlowe. Remember, you're in room 515 of the Walker House.
Oh.
When I left, you were waiting for Mona Waters, but I came back to find you spread out on the floor, as flat as that puddle of ink there on the desk blotter. Now, you take it. How come all this?
Oh, yes, I remember now. I was struck.
Yeah.
But, Marlowe, the lights are out.
And they're better left that way unless you want the room full of irate citizens. Who struck you?
I have no idea. I was sitting at the desk there writing Miss Waters a note because I decided not to wait any longer when I was hit from behind.
That explains the spilled ink. What about the open window? It was closed when I left.
Open window? Why, that's strange.
Strange? It's screwy. Nuts.
What do you mean? Mr. Marlowe, just what is your position in this business?
I'm a private detective working for Mr. Van Noord, and I'll tell you something else. Whoever slugged you opened that window and sailed the precious Indian bowl right out into thin air, 5 stories high.
Oh.
Smashed down there on the sidewalk.
Oh, the bowl is gone? Destroyed?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Why, that's hideous. The markings on that bowl were priceless. Why, Marlowe, great Scott, why was it destroyed?
That's what I mean. See, it's screwy. Oh, wait a minute, I'll get it. Hello?
Miss Mona Waters, please. It's urgent. Interstate Airlines calling.
She's out. I'll take the message.
Oh, thank heavens. Well, we want to rectify a perfectly ghastly mistake. We're afraid the relief operator may have given Miss Waters 2:12 a.m. instead of 1:12 a.m. as the departure time of her plane tonight.
But, baby, it's 12:30 now. If she leaves at 1:12...
I know. We're just sick about it. Can she make it?
I hope not. But I'll do my best to deliver your message in person. You're a dear girl for calling. Goodbye.
What was it, Marlowe? Something important?
Not archaeologically. I'll see you later.
Oh, wait. Isn't there anything we can do about the bowl?
Oh, sure. Get a bottle of glue and a dustpan and hop to it. So long, Erskine. I'm off to the field of the Thunderbirds. Oh, fine. Now, look, officer,
Never mind. Well, Mac, you're batting 1,000. You pulled out of the hotel driveway 2 blocks back, ran 1 full stop and a red signal getting this far. That's great. So what's your story? Been drinking?
Not a drop, believe me. Now, look, I've got to get to the airport in a hurry.
Why?
Yeah, to catch an Indian girl. A guy named Jimmy Brown Bear was murdered tonight because a bowl was stolen.
Wait a minute, hold it. Who was murdered?
Oh, I know. What's the use? There's no use in going into it. Officer, my name is Marlowe. I'm a private detective working on a case, and I got to get to the airport.
Private eye, huh? Let's see your papers.
Oh, sure. Here, they're all here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Philip Marlowe, license number. Hey, what's eating you? What are you staring at?
Blue-black lines in the palm of my hand. They look just like... Holy smoke, they are. That's the answer. I got to get back to that hotel. It's a matter of life and death.
Now, just
Please,
a minute.
give me a ticket. Give me 3 tickets. Only let me get back to the Walker House right now, will you? Life depends on it.
You better be right, Marlowe. Wait till I stop the traffic, then make a U-turn. Now, go ahead.
Made it back to the hotel in something under 7 minutes for the round trip. I ran for the elevator, waited for the car to come down, and when the gate opened, bumped head-on into Clark Erskine himself. I backed him into the elevator again at gunpoint and pushed the 5th floor button. I didn't say a word. By the time the elevator stopped and the gate slid open, he was beginning to sweat.
Marlowe, I just don't understand this. Why the gun?
Take a guess, Erskine. I want to know what happened to Mona Waters.
Why, I don't know. She didn't come back.
Here, this is 515. Remember? Go on, open it up. And get inside. Now, listen, you. I know who killed Jimmy Brown Bear, and I found out plenty about the bull, so talk. Where's Mona?
Behind you with a gun in my hand, so don't move.
Oh, great. Well, at least you're okay.
Except for a headache, yes. I just woke up in the bedroom with a heap big lump on my scalp, and I know a pale face who's going to pay for that. Drop your gun, Marlowe. Drop it. Now, who's this character here, and where's the bowl?
Marlowe hit it, Miss Waters. I saw him hit you and take it. I tried to stop him, but he hit me, too. My name is Erskine. I'm an archaeologist. I only wanted to make a scientific study of the bowl, but this vandal here has destroyed it. Destroyed it. Marlowe!
Pipe down, Red Wing, and listen. Before you start shooting, there's a lot of wampum at stake, if nothing else. Now keep that in mind.
Okay, Big Wind, stop blowing. Speak your piece and keep it straight.
He's a treacherous liar, Miss Waters.
I know I'm braced for that.
Oh, you sweetheart, you. All right. The inscription's on that bowl with the key to the treasure, which is probably no news to you two. You didn't know how to work it, Mona. But Erskine here did. He found out that some of the lines were etched into the clay and others were raised, like the face of type in a printing press. Do I go on?
Pray do, Professor.
All right, now look. If you look closely, beautiful, you'll see ink on his fingers. Also, you'll notice that a bottle of ink poured out on your desk blotter there made the same kind of ink pad you use for a rubber stamp.
That ink was spilled by accident. Now, don't listen to him because...
Shut up. Go on, Marlowe.
Well, after he knocked you out and left you in the bedroom, all he had to do was roll that wide, flat border of the bowl through the ink. Then roll it again over blank paper and it printed. What's more, baby, if we look real close, we'll find a perfect printed map on your hotel stationery stuck in one of his inside pockets.
No, you don't. You'll never get the chance.
Marlowe, the gun on the floor.
Jack, Mona, lights out!
Marlowe? Marlowe, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Oh. Then I did shoot the right man.
Cream and sugar, Miss Waters?
Thanks.
Well, that's about the story, Mr. Van Ord. Mona here slipped the Indian bowl into your shipment to keep it away from the guys she knew were after it. And, of course, she had to follow the bowl here to L.A. Erskine followed her.
I see. It's amazing, isn't it? Positively amazing. Marlowe, how did you discover that the intricate pattern on the bowl worked like a printing press?
Oh, well, after Erskine had made his print of the map, he threw the bowl out the window to smash it so no one else could duplicate it. I got hold of a chunk of it and clenched it in my hand. I found out later, when I passed that cop my credentials, that the chunk of pottery had left separate, distinct lines of ink on my palm.
Terribly clever. Isn't he, Mr. Van Noo?
Oh, take it easy, baby.
Indeed, he is clever, Miss Waters. But what of poor Jimmy Brown Bear?
Well, Erskine followed me from the hotel to Jimmy's place and shot him, so I'd never have a chance to talk to him. He was a ruthless little guy, Clark Erskine. But if he survives that bullet wound, the state will get him for murder.
Yeah. Oh, Miss Waters, you'll have to hurry and finish your breakfast so that you can catch your plane. But before you go, I have a little gift for you. Excuse me, I'll get it.
And Marlowe, speaking of gifts, I have one for you. Come here.
Yo, baby, that's nice. Is it for keeps?
Of course not, silly. I'm an Indian giver, remember? When I come to town again, I'll be rich and reckless and loaded with all that old Spanish gold. That's when I'll take my gift back again. With interest. So long, Philby.
Well, when I finally got home, completely fagged out at 10 o'clock in the morning, I took one look at my favorite chair, the big, deep, soft one, and then sank down into it good and hard. Ow! Ooh, something that felt like a broken beer bottle stabbed me. I reached for it, and it turned out to be the jagged chunk of the Indian bowl I dropped in my pocket earlier. For the first time, I really looked at the hieroglyphics on it. There were 3 Indian figures. The first was breaking sticks into uneven lengths. The second was holding a small fish, and the third was running away with all the wampum. It took me a long time, but I finally got it, I think. The Indian picture message could only be translated one way. It had to mean, never give a sucker an even break. And right then and there, I thought about Mona and what she'd said.
That's when I'll take my gift back again, with interest. So long, Paleface.
So long, baby.
The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, bringing you Raymond Chandler's most famous character and crime's most deadly enemy, star Gerald Moore. Tonight's story was produced and directed by Cliff Howell. Script is by Mel Dinelli, Robert Mitchell, and Gene Levitt. Featured in the cast were Betty Lou Gerson, Hans Conried, Clark Gordon, Howard Culver, Peter Leeds, Jane Webb, and Jane Abello. The special music is written and conducted by Richard O'Run. Be sure and be with us again next week when Philip Marlowe says...
Inside of 2 hours, a lavish mansion seethed with suspicion. A sealed cabin filled with gas and an artist's retreat had a corpse on the floor. All because one man was too good-looking to be true to anyone.
There'll be a couple of unusual twists for mystery fans on Gangbusters and on Basil Rathbone's adventure tonight. Gangbusters will present a former chief of detectives on the New York City Police narrating the case of a bet on a long shot that ended in murder. Basil Rathbone's drama will find that suave gentleman going to jail himself in order to deliver a man to the police. This is Roy Rowan speaking. Now, stay tuned for Gangbusters, which follows immediately over most of these same CBS stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Gangbusters! The Military Police Corps of the United States Army is celebrating its 12th anniversary. To tell us about tonight's Gangbusters case is the Chief of Operations and Enforcement Branch of the Office of the Provost Marshal General, Lieutenant Colonel Harley Moore, who supervises military police operations all over the world. And here, especially transcribed for Gangbusters, is Colonel Moore.
Thank you, and good evening, Gangbusters listeners. Throughout the world, the uniformed military policeman of the American Army has become a familiar sight. His trim uniform, bearing, and conduct are models for soldiers everywhere. His job in the Army compares to that of the uniformed civilian policeman: to maintain order, direct military traffic, guard important installations, prevent crime, and give assistance and service wherever he can. Within the Army's Military Police Corps, there are also specialists who perform functions similar to those of detectives of a city police force. These are called criminal investigators. It is their duty, under the supervision of their local provost marshal, to investigate crimes against Army personnel and property, and to apprehend fugitives in this connection. This case tonight shows in part the work of these important specialists, and it began one summer night a year or so ago on the outskirts of a small town in Iowa. A very low-grade carnival was playing a one-night stand to so-so business, and the talkers at the various attractions were straining their lungs, drumming up trade. The only fair-sized crowd was gathered in front of Gay Paris, the carnival's girly show, where the outside talker was making his pitch to the crowd.
On the inside of Gay Paris in a very few minutes. Yes, sir, the spectacle you've been witnessing outside here is only a sample, a very small sample of what's going to start on the inside of Gay Paris in just a few minutes. You're going to see the five most gorgeous, lovely girls west of Broadway and east of Hollywood. And there's still a few seats left inside the tent. You've been watching our little Josette give you that sample. Our sweet little Josette. Take a bow, Josette.
Thank you.
Hey, you. Stay off the ballast stand, pal. This is for employees only. Right over here, the best quarter you ever spent. Mister, I said stay off the ballast stand.
I'm the sheriff of the county.
Oh, well, we run a clean extravaganza here, Sheriff. Pure and simple. Witness the show with my compliments.
I'm not here for that. I want to talk to you.
Well, I'm giving my pitch, Sheriff.
I want to talk to you anyway.
If you want to talk, Sheriff, you'll talk, but just a second now. All right, man. Josette will give you one more little segment of what you'll see inside the gay parade. Give him that segment, Josette, but not too much now. Hit it, Professor!
Now, what can I do for you, Sheriff? You got a fellow named Hale working around here?
Hale? Not that I know of.
The big boss said you had a Ralph Hale over here.
Oh, Ralph. I never knew Hale was his other name. Yes, he's our electrician, handyman, stagehand, and general factotum around here.
Where is he now?
Well, I'll take you to him. Give me a minute to get this crowd inside, will you?
Okay, take your minute.
Well, I'll be right with you. Well, that's enough of a segment, Josette. That's enough now. Now, just take it easy, boys. You ain't seen nothing yet. Now, little Josette is going to go back inside the tent with the other girls, and she's going to get ready for the big performance of the gay Paris show that starts in just another moment. Now, go on, Josette.
See you inside, everybody.
Come on.
I'm on in 2 minutes. Ralph?
What?
Ralph, you better go.
I better go where? Will you get ready for the show,
Ralph,
Josie?
the sheriff is outside looking for you.
Sheriff? Well, thanks, baby.
No, not that way. He's coming in that way.
Well, how?
Through the girls' dressing tent this way.
Listen, help me, Josie. Help me get away from you.
I will. Everything will be all right. Now, wait. Okay, it's all right. The girls are out waiting to go on.
Okay. All right, close it. Close the flash.
Sure. Now, go on, Ralph. You can sneak out that way and write to me, will you? Please write to me.
Yeah,
huh?
sure. Josie.
You better hurry.
Now, listen, Josie, have you got any money?
Well, I haven't got very much. I got only about $250.
Oh, well, look, baby, can I borrow $200? You'll get it back, every cent back.
But it's in a savings bank in Chicago.
Oh.
Gee, I'm sorry, Ralph. You know I'd let you have it. But you'll be all right. Everything will be fine.
Listen, Josie, leave the show and come to Chicago with me, will you?
Ralph, I can't do that. They need me
Oh,
here.
what do you want to stay with a lousy, rundown outfit like this for? Come on to Chicago. We'll have a real time, you and me.
Gee, Ralph, I don't know. It's not right to leave like that without notice.
What do you think they'd give you notice? Look, I'm going to Alex's trail. I'm going to get my stuff. And then I'm going to hitchhike over to Sioux City. There's 3 or 4 buses out of there for Chicago a night. I'll wait in the bus station for you. The bus station is Sioux City.
Ralph, I can't. You know how I feel about you, but I can't.
I'll be waiting for you in the bus station.
Ralph.
I need you there, Josie. I need you. Now, you pull out of here as soon as they tear down the show tonight. All right?
All right. I'll meet you in the bus station.
Well, that was how this fugitive made his escape. He was, as we shall see, an Army deserter. In addition to that violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, he was also sought for the burglary of the residences of 2 non-commissioned officers on the military reservation at Fort Meade, Maryland, when he was stationed there. At midnight that night, in the headquarters of the 5th Army Military Police Criminal Investigation Detachment in Chicago, First Sergeant Edward P. Ellis, on duty in that office, had just dialed the telephone number.
Major Landry, please.
Speaking.
Oh, this is Sergeant Ellis, sir. Sorry to disturb you at home.
That's all right. What is it, Sergeant?
We just got a wire, sir. A reply from that sheriff in Iowa.
Did he get him?
No, sir.
Now, what'd the wire say?
Says Major Robert L. Landry, 5th Army Military Police Criminal Investigation Detachment, Chicago. Information good, but missed Ralph Hale, wanted by your office. Hale fled while I was on Carnival out to make arrest.
Well, that's that, I guess.
Yes, sir. No information regarding present whereabouts.
All right, Sergeant. Send a wire back to the sheriff over my name and thank him.
Yes, sir.
We'll get him, Sergeant. I want you to catch up with that Carnival and see what kind of information you can turn up. Somebody around there ought to know where he was heading.
When shall I leave, sir?
I'll come into the office and we can talk it over. You can leave tonight.
Cheer up, will you, Josie? There's plenty for you to do in Chicago. You can get a job 10 minutes after the bus goes.
I'm not worried about that, Ralph. I shouldn't have left the show like that without notice. Where are they going to find another girl in the middle of Iowa like
Look,
that?
worry about yourself a little bit instead of other people, will you?
I'm just that way, that's all.
Well, if you got to worry about somebody else, you worry about me.
Look, I am worried about you. You don't have to tell me to worry about you.
I'll be all right. As long as I have a little bit of dough to get settled on and look around. Now, you sure you got that money in the bank in Chicago, huh?
Yeah, I
You got your bank book with you?
I got that, too.
Okay.
Ralph,
Hmm?
what did that sheriff want to talk to you for? Exactly, I mean.
Oh, I've been in a little trouble.
I know that. I mean exactly. After all, I left the show. I'm going to Chicago with you, giving you that money. I'm entitled to know.
Well, how much do you think a guy can make roughnecking around a small-time show like that? I've been working the short con. I guess one of the marks put in a beef. I took some small-town suckers for a couple of touches. Everybody does it. It's practically legit.
Well, the bus is going to get in awful early in the morning. We got to find rooms and everything.
So don't bother about that, kid. I think we'll be set all right.
Where?
I got a friend in Chicago. We used to work together a lot. He'll find a spot for us.
Oh, all right.
His name is Fatso.
That's a funny name.
Yeah, well, it fits. He's not what you'd call good-looking.
Gee, I don't think I can hold my head up anymore, Ralph.
Yeah, we'll go to sleep.
Can I lean on your shoulder?
Lean on the pillow they give you. My shoulder's not a pillow.
All right. Night. Wake me up when we get to Chicago.
Yeah, I will. You can count on it.
Do, Ralph, except get a job.
Look, Josie, don't bother me with your problems, will you? Fatso invited us here to have a drink, not to listen to your troubles. Isn't that right, Fatso?
She's got a point, Ralph. If she don't work, how are we going to pay the rent? And look, there ain't even much left in the bottle. That's as important as rent.
We'll manage. Don't worry about that. We'll manage.
We sure managed fine so far, didn't we? Took all my money out of the bank. It's not even a week yet, and tomorrow there won't be a cent left.
What are you complaining? Listen, if you're complaining, you can get on the bus and go back to the show.
I'm not complaining, Ralph. You know I'm not. I'm just worried, that's all.
You and me both.
Well, who'd figure that Fatso was in such a spot and strapped for dough like me? I thought he'd be in good shape.
I've been having a rough year, Ralph. I've been sick.
Well, if I want that dice job, I better call him then.
Well, go on. Call him then.
There's a phone under the stairs.
All right.
I'll pour you another drink in the meanwhile.
No, don't do that. I don't want any more.
I'll pour one for myself. She's an awful pretty girl, Ralph.
She'll do.
You ought to be nice to her. It's good to have somebody that likes you. You treat them right, and they keep liking you.
What do you know about women?
I know if I had one like that, I'd treat her right. Giving her last money, too.
All right, it's a shame she's got no more. Now, listen, are you interested in this deal I was telling you about or not?
Where'd you hear about it anyway? In the Army?
No, since I left, since I went with the show.
Look, I don't mind traveling and all that, but you got to be sure the old man's got all that money in the house.
I can be sure of it. Some guy I drank beer with in town. He worked for him. He spent the whole night talking about him. He's got a safe in the wall of his living room.
Yeah, but has he got dough in it?
Yeah, he's got dough in it.
How old is he, anyway?
He's over 60, way over 60.
I guess he won't be much trouble.
No trouble at all. We leave Chicago in the afternoon, just in time to get to the old man's house at midnight. We do our business, we turn right around, we come back. Nobody even knows we're out of Chicago.
Nobody but Josie.
Josie is coming with us.
On the job?
On the job.
You're not going to tell her what you got in mind. She wouldn't like it.
She wakes up and finds herself part of the deal. She'll have to like it. Back to Gangbusters in a moment. Marcus Whitman, Frontier Doctor, will be the real-life hero of tomorrow night's Radio Hall of Fame. Lionel Barrymore, your host, tells the story of this pioneer Oregonian who risked his life to help America open the Pacific Northwest to settlement. Lionel Barrymore will have the aid of a top Hollywood cast in the Radio Hall of Fame's outstanding production, Marcus Whitman, Frontier Doctor, tomorrow evening on most of these same CBS radio stations. And now back to Gangbusters and Lieutenant Colonel Moore.
Well, as the 5th Army Criminal Investigation Detachment of the Military Police sought information leading to the whereabouts of an Army deserter who had also been accused of burglary on a military reservation, the fugitive, in company of his friend and the girl Josie, left Chicago for the small Nebraska city, intent upon robbing an elderly resident. Shortly after midnight, the stolen car in which they had driven from Chicago pulled up in front of the spacious Victorian residence where their intended victim lived all alone.
What a casa.
Ralph, I'm afraid. I don't want to do it.
What's there to be afraid of?
I never did anything like this before. I never stole a thing in my life.
Well, this is a good time as any to start. Go on, get out.
It seems so off.
That's an awful big house, Ralph. You don't think he's got boarders or anything?
He's got nothing except dough. Now, come on.
Dogs. You think he's got dogs? I'm scared to death of dogs.
He's got no dogs.
Only money.
Yeah, you said it, baby. Only money. And he won't have that long.
Maybe he's not home. There's not a light anyplace.
He never goes anywhere. He's asleep. All right, hold it here. Now, we'll stay out of sight here, Josie. Go to it.
Ralph, can't...
Go on, will you?
All right.
That's a good girl.
All right, get down.
I'm down.
Go on, push the bell.
There it is.
Again.
There goes the light in the bedroom.
Really quiet.
I'm quiet.
Take him a couple of seconds to get downstairs.
Yes? What do you want?
Excuse me, I got a flat on my car. Could I use your phone?
Do you have to wake me up in the middle of the night?
Well, I couldn't help it if I had a flat. Please?
All right, just a second.
I'm awfully sorry, but I really didn't know what to do.
As long as you woke me up, come on in.
All right, let's go.
Thank you very much.
Out of the way, honey.
Hey, what's that?
Watch the door. Get away from there, Swanson.
No, let me go. Let me go.
Hold him.
Let me go.
I got him. All right, honey, shut the door.
Yeah.
Let me go. Will you let me go?
Hold still, old
All right,
timer.
baby, turn on that light.
Please.
Turn on the light, will you?
Let me go, will you?
Go on, old timer. Get in there. In the living room. Go on.
All right, that's far enough.
What do you want?
What are you asking foolish questions for, Mr. Swanson? You know what we want. Money. All of it. Now, sit down there.
I got no money here.
Didn't you hear him? He said sit down.
Baby,
Yeah.
turn on some lamps in here, will you? It should be a little more cheerful in here.
Yeah, to say the least.
All right.
Yeah, Mr. Swanson, money. All the money you got.
I've got none here.
How's that? You want some more light?
Now, that's enough. Find a seat someplace and stay out of the way. Fatso?
Yeah.
See that picture of the ocean breezes on the wall there?
Yeah.
We'll take it down.
This picture here?
Yeah, that's the picture. Take it down.
Now, wait for
Shut
a
up,
minute.
Mr. Swanson.
Hey, look at this. A safe. A safe right in the wall.
Come here, Fatso.
Huh? That thing shouldn't be too much trouble.
Ah, it won't give us much trouble if Mr. Swanson don't give us much trouble. What's the combination, Mr. Swanson? What's the matter? Can't you hear me when I talk to you? Now, what's the combination? What is the combination?
Ralph, wait a minute.
Go on back there and
No,
sit.
please, Ralph, don't do that anymore.
How are we going to get him to open the safe if we don't?
Let me try.
Go ahead, if you're such a wonder.
Look, Mr. Swanson, what's the use of getting yourself hurt, huh? I didn't know it was going to be anything like this or I wouldn't have come along. Now, tell him what the combination is. I don't want to see you get hurt.
What are you doing here? You're just as bad as them.
Don't talk like that to the lady.
No.
Let go of me, will
All
you?
right, let him go.
Please don't hurt him.
Honest, how can a guy work with all this interference?
Honey, go over in the other room. Keep a sharp look out of the window. Watch for any cars stopping in front.
Yeah, but-
Go on, will you?
All right. But don't hurt him.
That's right, through there.
Please don't hurt him.
All right, now, Mr. Swanson. No.
That's it. Let him go.
You want the combination, don't you?
You let him go.
Oh.
All right, now, Mr. Swanson, how about it?
I won't tell you.
You see, Ralph?
I'm going to show you something, Mr. Swanson. I'm going to show you this.
What'd you need a gun for?
Just get your hands away.
Sit down there. And stay there.
What are you going to do?
What's the combination?
No. You wouldn't kill me.
Well, let's see how close I can come.
No. No.
Feel that whiz by your ear, Mr. Swanson?
No.
Now, what's the combination?
Well, what is it?
Well, let's whiz one by the other ear. Now, what's the combination?
No.
He didn't shoot.
No, we didn't shoot him. Get back in there. Will you go back in there?
What's the matter with her, anyway?
Now, listen to me, Mr. Swanson. I'm tired of messing around. What is the combination? What is it?
Go on,
Come on,
make
come
it
on. What
quick.
is it? Come on, what is it? What is it?
Hey, take it easy. You'll kill him.
It's your life. I'll kill him. Can't toy with me.
Watch it. Watch it. Uh-oh. I think that done it.
Mr. Swanson. Come on, Mr. Swanson. Quit stalling.
You ask me, Ralph, I think that really done
Well,
it.
who's asking me?
After all, he ain't no youngster.
All right, what are you worried about?
If you were going to kill him, you should have waited until we got the combination.
We'll open the safe without the combination.
How? Tell me how.
Will you look for some tools? And go to work on the safe while Josie and I see what else is around this house.
Major Landry.
This is Corporal Lochner, sir. Sergeant Ellis is calling in from Ames, Iowa.
Oh, good. Put him on.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Sergeant?
I caught up at the carnival in Keokuk, and I've been following them around for a couple of days.
Good. What'd you find out?
Well, nobody's heard from Ralph Hale, but there was a girl with the show. Josie McAllister is the name she was working under.
Yeah?
She left without notice the night Hale ran out.
They think she might be with Hale?
Well, they say she could be, sir. One of her friends here had a postcard from this Josie. She's working as a dice girl in some tavern there in Chicago.
Where in Chicago?
I got the postcard, Major. It doesn't say what tavern, just Chicago.
All right, that's better than nothing. We'll see what we can do with it.
Hey, Ralph.
What?
How about it? Can we stop at the next joint for a sandwich or something?
The idea is not to stop for a sandwich. The idea is just to get back to Chicago as fast as we can. Just get some speed out of this thing and put in some miles before it gets daylight.
Ralph, how could you kill him? How could you do such a thing?
Josie, let's not go over that again. It was an accident. He fell.
That poor old guy.
What did she say?
You just take care of the driving up there, Fatso. I'll take care of the conversation back here. Now, listen, you get one thing through your head, Josie. You're in this just as much as we are.
I didn't want to come along.
No, but you did. You helped. So the best thing for you to do is to forget it, go about your business, keep your mouth shut.
Just to kill a guy like that and for nothing, practically.
All right, so we couldn't get the safe open. Had $100 in cash in his pocket. It's better than nothing.
Kill a man for $100.
That's what you think. But Josie, look.
What's that? Oh, my.
Shut up. That's so I don't know about it. I found it upstairs. It's 2 carats at least.
Hey, what's all the whispering?
Oh, when you sweet talk nothings to your girlfriend, you don't shout, do you?
Oh.
When we get to Chicago, you get back to your job, Josie. And you wait and see. Things are going to be just ducky.
Thus, the search was concentrated in Chicago. Every available military police investigator was used in the attempt to track down the girl Josie, who was known to be working as a dice girl in a Chicago tavern. Meanwhile, the robbery and homicide had not been tied to the former carnival worker and Army deserter. The aid of Chicago detectives was requested in the hunt for the dice girl. But a week passed, and the investigators still were not able to locate her.
Come on, 80K.
And 3 is 22. You want to try again?
Sure, why not? Gotta win sometime, don't I? Josie?
If you keep trying long enough.
That's your name, Josie, isn't it?
Yeah, that's my name.
Nice name.
Roll the dice, mister. I'm not here to carry on conversations.
Neither am I.
Hey, Josie, I got to talk to
I'm
you.
busy now,
I don't care how busy you are. I got to talk to you.
Later.
Where's Ralph? Is he coming here?
I don't know where Ralph is. Go on, roll, mister.
Yeah.
Did Ralph bring a ring from Nebraska?
A ring? I don't know.
He did, didn't he? And you two didn't say nothing.
I don't know, Fatso. Now, please, I'm busy.
Okay, you're busy. I'm busy, too. I'm telling you something. You two better show up at my place after you get finished tonight. I want to get this settled, and I want to get it settled good.
Fatso, I got a customer. Excuse it, mister.
Oh, I love fights.
I heard from sources that Ralph got a ring. I want my part of that. If I don't get it, there'll be trouble, real trouble. Now, both of you show up tonight. I'll see you later.
He's mad.
Yeah, I guess he has a right to be. Well, go on, roll, mister.
No, I think I've had enough. Here, this squares us, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
So long, Josie.
Call again, mister.
That's a girl, all right, Major.
Good.
They're going to meet Ralph later. She and that guy, Fatso his name is. They were arguing about a ring.
Were they?
Yes, sir. Well, that part didn't make sense to me.
We'll try to make sense out of it. Now, let's see where that fellow Fatso goes. And see if the girl and Ralph keep that date.
If you don't intend to give him his share, Ralph, why are you coming to see him? That's what I don't understand.
You don't understand a lot of things, Josie. All right, go on in.
He's entitled to it, you know.
He's entitled to what I want to give him.
Ralph, listen to me. Why make trouble for yourself? Aren't you involved enough now? Give him what he's got coming to him.
Go on, get upstairs.
All right.
And I don't want to hear any more out of you either. I can ship you back to that carnival so fast your head will spin.
Oh, no, you won't.
Now, you listen to me, baby. Don't you backtalk me. You're in this thing just as much as anybody. You can get just as much as me, so remember that. If I say back to the show, you go, and no arguments. Now, get upstairs.
All right. You don't have to shove me.
You and Fatso have got to learn to take what you get and be happy with it.
What about my $250?
You'll get it when I feel like giving it to you. And I don't feel like it yet. Come on, Fatso, open up. You know who it is. All right, come on. Now, listen, Fatso.
All right, Ralph, stand still.
Military police. Hold it, not me.
Watch him. There he goes.
I got him in there.
You just think you have him there.
Let me go.
Watch him there.
Let me go. Dirty, rotten girl. Going any place else? No. No place at all.
Everything okay, sir? I got no complaints, Sergeant. No complaints at all.
And that was how this Army fugitive was taken by criminal investigators of the Military Police Corps. Subsequently, his connection with the Nebraska homicide came to light. Following a court-martial and a dishonorable discharge from the Army, he was turned over to the Nebraska authorities to be tried with his Confederates on a charge of murder. They were found guilty and received appropriate sentences under the law. This incident shows that any crime is of concern to all enforcement officials and to all citizens. Neither the military police nor the civilian law enforcement officials can prevent or solve all crimes without the assistance of the other. Tonight we are observing the 12th anniversary of the Military Police Corps. The attainment of this milestone has been greatly enhanced by the aid of your local police. This sentiment is extended to the police of most foreign countries, who in these days of uneasy peace work hand in glove with us. On behalf of the Provost Marshal General and every military policeman throughout the world, I want to thank Gangbusters for this opportunity to show you how your Army works for you in peace as they do in war.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Harley Moore, Chief of Operations from the Office of the Provost Marshal General, United States Army. Now, Gangbusters nationwide clues broadcast every week as a public service to assist American police in their war against the underworld. Attention all citizens. Watch for this man, Herbert Paul Jenkins, wanted by the FBI for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution for murder. His official description:
Herbert Paul Jenkins, age 51, height 5 feet 9 inches, 170 to 190 pounds, medium build, brown hair, blue eyes, fair complexion, may seek work as farmer, mechanic, steel, or shipyard worker.
He has the tattoo Inez below left elbow, has oblique scar above inner corner of right eyebrow, a small oblique scar below nose, an irregular scar below left side of jaw, and a 1 1/2 inch scar on inner right forearm. He has a furrow between his eyes.
Caution, Jenkins may be armed and should be considered extremely dangerous. Watch for him. Attention all citizens. Watch for George Lester Ballou, wanted by the FBI for interstate transportation of stolen property. His official description:
George Lester Ballou, age 39, 5 feet 9 inches, 160 to 70 pounds, medium build, dark brown hair, brown eyes, medium complexion. May seek work as a nurse, clerk, or artist.
This man has a scar on bridge of his nose, on his lower right arm, a tattoo of a heart pierced with a dagger, and the words, "Death before dishonor."
Caution, Bellew may be armed and should be considered dangerous. If you have any information concerning these fugitives, notify your local police, the nearest office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or Gangbusters at once. Tonight's Gangbusters case was dramatized by Stanley Niss and directed by Leonard L. Bass, with Bob Reddick, Juan O. Hernandez, and Terry Keane in leading roles. The entire production was supervised for CBS Radio by John Ives. Gaylord Avery speaking. Listen next week, same time, same CBS station, to amazing facts in The Case of the Soda Fountain Pigeon on Gangbusters, a production of CBS Radio in cooperation with Phillips H. Lord. With Harry Lillis Crosby, Freeman Gosden, and Charles Correll checking in on CBS Radio tomorrow night, we're happy to remind you that from now on they'll be keeping company Sunday nights with our man Benny Kubelski. Or, looking at it another way, with the Bing Crosby Show and Amos and Andy returning to most of these stations tomorrow night, they'll be heard the same evening as Jack Benny. It's all yours tomorrow evening with the rest of our Sunday Fun Day lineup presented by CBS Radio. And remember, America's 45 million radio families listen most to the CBS Radio Network.
Proudly we hail. From New York City, where the American stage begins, here is another program with a cast of outstanding players. Public service time has been made available by this station for your Army and your Air Force to bring you this story, as proudly we hail the United States Army. Our story is entitled Skysweeper. This is the story of Sergeant Tom Adams, who's but one of the thousands of skilled technicians, officers, and men who serve in the Army Ordnance Corps at arsenals, at the Aberdeen Proving Ground, and around the world. Our first act curtain will rise in just a moment, but first, the man who measures up will succeed anywhere. For a life of excitement and adventure, join the United States Army. The Army is the proving ground, the place where the men and the boys part company, where in a few short months you'll learn more about how to take care of yourself and how to lead others than you could in a lifetime of civilian activity. In the Army, your opportunities for advancement and leadership are unlimited, but you've got to have what it takes. The man who measures up here will succeed anywhere. Can you measure up? If you think you can, then here's an opportunity for you to serve your country and build a man-sized career for yourself that will take you as far as you want to go. Visit your local U.S. Army and U.S. Air Force recruiting station now. Your Army and your Air Force present the proudly we hail production, Skysweeper. Aberdeen, Maryland, the Army Ordnance Proving Ground, where the latest weapons, armor, and transport of the United States Army get the searching, rugged testing involved in final stages of development. These are the weapons of free peoples that are being forged, the weapons designed to help keep us strong and free. And at the workshops and firing ranges of Aberdeen, unceasingly, new ordnance gets a grueling going over, rarely matched even under combat conditions.
Yeah, Tom? We got more coming over, haven't we? About 3 or 4 as I make it. On those first ones, were we on target? All the way, Tom, all the way. Even when the jet stepped the target up to 480? It didn't matter. It could have been weather balloons up there floating along at no miles an hour. We weren't off by the width of an eggshell from the time you picked up the target. You know, Jonesy, I'm almost ready to say we've got a gun here. Keep your fingers crossed, Tom. Here comes the next target. On it, Jonesy. Let's go. Tom, Jonesy, wait up a minute. Hey, you're looking pretty sharp, Phil. Headed in for town this afternoon? Yeah, I guess so. How'd it go today? Well, how'd what go? Oh, come on, Jonesy, you can tell me. I was one of the detail hauling ammo out there for you this morning. You better ask the sergeant here. Did we give him a fill-in, Tom? Sorry, Phil. All performance data's off the record till the wraps come off. Major Holland's orders. Oh, well, look, Tom, I've been trying to get transferred over to your testing crew, and with any kind of a break, I might be on it with you next week. See, all I was wondering was... Well, you get that transfer, and you can stop wondering about what's going on. No kidding, Tom? If I get the green light to switch over, you won't turn me down? Saturday, Phil, and I've got a weekend pass starting in about an hour. You catch me feeling this good next week, and how could I turn you down? You heard him, Jonesy. I'm in. Provided you get the green light. I'll get it. If Tom Adams says I'm in, I'm in. All right, for me to take off now, Major. I've finished checking that third set of computations. Operation Baltimore again, Sergeant? Not Baltimore this weekend, sir. Judy and I are going out to a fishing camp on the bay. Fishing camp? That's early in the season? We're just opening it up and getting set for later on. The place belongs to Judy's folks, and they're meeting us out there tonight. An afternoon out on the bay with your girl. Tom, you'd better get out of here before it's got some way of trading places with you. Thank you, sir. You'll find this morning's results in the field safe in case you want to check them for money. Oh, thanks. I'll be getting at them now. Oh, but Tom, that reminds me. You don't need rebriefing on security, but as we get toward the end of this project, I'm asking everyone to be more careful than ever. I've tried to be all along, mate. Well, if anyone gets point blank about it, you're on a routine job. I haven't had trouble with anyone but Judy's father. He's quite a talker himself, and when he gets firing off questions at me... Questions, sir? You haven't... Oh, no, sir. As far as Mr. Wellington's concerned, I'm on the most routine job any soldier ever had. Matter of fact, he's beginning to think I ought to have more ambition and start trying to make something out of myself in the Army. Fine. Well, my best to Judy, Tom, and have a good weekend. Thank you, Major.
Tom.
Yes, Judy?
Don't move. The ducks are starting to swim in toward shore again.
I wouldn't dream of moving, Judy. After the paint job and the mopping up inside, all I'm going to do till your dad and mother turn up is watch the ducks tend to their housekeeping.
Tom, you call it housekeeping just to swim around out there?
All right. Let's get to some housekeeping that you will give the name to. What about Albert?
Albert?
This is supposed to be Make Up Our Minds weekend. Remember?
Well, look at the ducks now, Tom. That place comes right in.
Don't try to throw me off, Judy. Once your father gets here, I'll be lucky to get her 3 words at a time tomorrow night. And I've got something here to show you.
Oh.
Will you take this ring and wear it so we can get married?
Tom,
I know it's not too big a diamond. Maybe you'd call the setting kind of plain, but...
Darling, it's the most beautiful ring I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, see. Well, honey, I was hoping to take it, but... What about it? Does this mean...
Oh, wait a minute, Tom. There's someone coming.
Well, of all the times for anybody...
Here, keep the ring now. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, but look, Judy, all you want to know is...
All you want to know is what, Tom? What Mother and I brought for this picnic dinner tonight?
Mother, we didn't get the car full.
Oh, Mr. Wellington.
Oh, Tom, it's a pleasure to see you again. Hope Judy hasn't been working too hard getting things up in here.
Working him too hard? Mother, this younger generation doesn't know the meaning of work. I don't say Tom's any worse than the rest of them, but
Dad, working our heads off most of the afternoon, and there's your boat to prove it. All straight, caulked, and painted.
Well, that does look to be an improvement. I guess you youngsters haven't been wasting all the afternoon out here.
Can I give a hand with anything in from the car, Mrs. Wellington?
Thanks, Tom. There are a few bags to come in, but there's no rush about them.
We men will tend to the bags, Mother. You and Judy take charge in the kitchen, start things going in there. Come on, Tom. Package detail, front and center. Hey! Right there. That does it in the baggage, Tom. And now then, let's get down and look into that new dock project I was telling you about.
Well, I'd like to, sir, but I thought if Judy needed
No
some help...
KP for us, Tom. We've got some serious dock planning to do. First, though, I'd like to know whether you've taken any steps along the lines I was suggesting to you last week.
Steps, Mr. Wellington?
About getting ahead in the Army. If there's anything more important than ambition and good plain hard work, it's taking time enough beforehand to be sure that you know what you're aiming for.
I guess you're right, Mr. Wellington.
You've admitted you're on a routine job. Not much change one week after another.
I didn't say I didn't find my job over at Aberdeen interesting, sir.
Now, look, boy, you're putting a good face on it, but what else can it be but a blind alley? Let's face up to things as they are.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Mr.
The
Wellington...
thing is, Tom Adams, it's time you stirred yourself and made a move. Of course, this old trick back of mine kept me from ever being in the Army myself, but I pride myself in knowing a little something about it as a long-time observer. As far as I can see, all a man has to do is talk about it, man to man, with his first sergeant or company commander.
Mr. Wellington, the thing is, I like the work I'm on. I haven't been asking to get shifted out of orders.
Like it, Tom? When you told me yourself...
Mr. Wellington, maybe we'd better be going down and having a look at that dock.
Oh, time enough, my boy, time enough for that. You haven't told me yet how the anti-aircraft situation is going.
Anti-aircraft situation? I didn't say I was working
Those
on it.
ideas of mine, son, that I asked you to suggest to your superiors over there at Aberdeen.
Those ideas? Oh, you mean about the kite?
Well, not the kite, boy, but big ones. Long barbed wire tails on them. Throw up a couple of hundred barbed wire kites around every city, and how could the enemy planes ever get in? Huh? Any 10-year-old boy can hold a string, can't he?
Yes, I suppose that's so, Mr. Wellington.
And what about the high-level flamethrowers?
Yes, sir. I put both those suggestions in through channels, Mr. Wellington.
Channels? You didn't go right to the top?
Well, as a sergeant, sir, that wouldn't have been according to Hoyle.
There's just one limit that I can see, Tom, and that's your lack of get up and go. Here, handed two brilliant new ideas. And what do? You just start mumbling something about the channels. Don't you have any imagination and ambition, Tom? You afraid Judy might stumble over the edge of this rickety old dock?
What?
The way you two are holding hands, the man will think you're afraid of going overboard.
Dad, you might say that's what we have been doing.
Going overboard?
Dad, can't you see here on it? No, I promised Mother I'd tell her. Tom, I'll go find it. I'll be right back.
Oh. Well, what was I supposed to notice, Tom? Some new way Judy's doing her hair?
I think Judy wanted to tell you herself, Mr. Wellington.
Tell me what. Speak up, boy. Have you and Judy been choosing a location without even hearing how I figure it out?
How you figured it out?
The new dock, boy. What else are we talking about?
Oh, yes, sir, the dock.
Now, the way I see it, Tom, the chief trouble with this old dock is the side of the cove that it's on. If the people who put it there just used the heads a little to start with, it might still be in good shape. Built the dock in the far side, boy, where it's got more spots all day. That's how. Same as 2 times 2, isn't it?
I don't know, Mr. Wellington. The way most of your wind comes, that far side of the cove would seem to be pretty unprotected.
Unprotected? Well, do you think you're dealing with full ocean right here, Tom? This is just Chesapeake Bay.
I know, but when some of these storms pick up, even in the bay...
Tom, are you deliberately trying to put your judgment above mine?
I didn't do it that way. I thought you wanted my opinion.
Well, that's a habit, but I want a reasoned opinion. Not just some irrelevant talk about a few showers that might come along.
But, Mr. Wellington, you're dock, and I'm not trying to tell you how to...
Tom, I'm ordering the new dock pilings driven from the far side of the cove. If you don't think that's exactly the place we ought to go, then all I can say is
Jonathan, will you please give over playing engineer long enough?
Engineer, Mother, after all my years of experience.
Haven't you heard the news?
The news?
Don't you even see the ring now with Judy holding it in front of your eyes?
Of course, now that
Now, Dad, couldn't you tell when you came down before what Tom and I had just decided? They're engaged, Jonathan. Now, can you gather your wits and give Judy your blessing while I kiss my new son-in-law to be? pity to catch her halfway through your Sunday supper, but that's the call. I just took it to you.
For me, Mrs. Wong?
It's long distance from Aberdeen.
Oh, thanks. Keep some waffles hot for me, Judy, huh? Hello?
This is Major Howland, Tom. I'm sorry to be breaking into your weekend time.
Anything wrong, Major?
No. But I wondered if you knew yet what time you plan to be back here tonight.
About 10, sir. The Wellingtons were going to drive me around. But if anything's come up...
No, 10 will be fine. And I'll appreciate it if you drop by at my office then before you turn in.
Glad to, sir. But if you'd rather have me...
No, stick to your schedule. There's some points I want to go over with you before I lay out tomorrow morning's run, but they won't take us a quarter of an hour to clear out. I'll be working through here till, after 11. So I'll see you when you get here, Tom.
Whatever you say, Judy, and whatever you say, Mother, I call it outrageous.
Jonathan, dear, you're getting worked up over nothing. We dropped Tom back at Aberdeen at the time we meant to, and he said himself the phone call was no more
You can pass it off, Mother, but I say if Tom was on an important job there, he wouldn't be at the beck of call.
Oh, Dad, you're way off. The
thing is, Judy, I've been trying to get Tom to make something of himself on the arm. And now that he's actually coming into our family, I say it's time I took some action.
Now, Dad, please don't spoil things. I tried.
Spoil things, Judy? Why, I'm going to fix them up for you and Tom. I'll get over to Aberdeen myself.
To Aberdeen?
To Aberdeen. And I'll see Major Howland myself. And see if we can get Tom Adams a decent assignment in this man's army.
You are listening to the proudly we hail production Skysweeper. We'll return in just a moment for the second act. Don't fire till you see the whites of their eyes with the command at Bunker Hill. So our musket men of 75 held off until the enemy closed in, and then they let them have it, lock, stock, and barrel. Well, the Army's come a long way in the last 178 years. Nowadays, our soldiers can track a jet plane 10,000 feet over and flying at 600 miles per hour. With the Army's supersonic equipment, skilled Army technicians can help protect our towns and our country from the enemy. With Army radar and electronics, our soldiers get the best kind of training that you'd have a tough time trying to duplicate anywhere else. You can learn to be a man of the hour yourself by enlisting directly for one of the Army's technical schools, like the Fire Control Repair School, for instance. Your local U.S. Army and U.S. Air Force recruiting station will be glad to help you. Join the Army, the team with 178 years of proud achievement. Join the Army and make your country proud of you. You are listening to Proudly We Hail, and now we present the second act of Skysweeper. The following day, on the firing range at the Aberdeen Proving Ground.
Which you taking this morning, Tom? Computer or radar? I'll take the computer, Jonesy. I'm on target, Tom. All set? All set. What a big job. We're on that target as if it were painted up there.
Non-commissioned officers' club at Aberdeen 2 nights later.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Phil. Hey, you're not writing a letter to that girl of yours tonight, huh? Just because she gave in and said she'd marry up with you. You're late, Phil. I wrote and mailed tonight's letter an hour ago. Yeah?
Call for you. Let them move.
Oh, thanks, Jonesy. I'll see you around, Phil. Yeah. Hello?
Tom, I'm so glad I was able to reach you.
Judy, how are you?
I'm fine, darling, but I wanted to warn you. Dad's coming over there to Aberdeen tomorrow.
No.
I've been trying to talk him out of it, but he won't listen. He's got hold of some old friend who knows the colonel, and fixed up to have the colonel call Major Howland.
Judy, he can't come barging over here.
It's awful, darling. He can just walk in there and get you promoted to, well, I don't know what fantastic plan he's got in mind.
Look, Judy, if your father starts bending the Major's ear and the Major ever thinks I had anything to do with it...
You know how stubborn Dad can get, Tom? He's coming over, and Mom and I can't stop him.
got to believe me. After Judy called last night, I did everything
Now, just take it easy, Tom. You can't be blamed for what someone else decides to do. And when a gentleman's your future father-in-law, I can see how your hands might be tied.
I just wish my tongue could have been tied, sir, before I ever let him get hold of your name.
Yes, Major Howland speaking.
There's Mr. Wellington outside. He has a pass. He's got an appointment with you.
Right. Send him in, Kennedy.
Major Howland, you're not going to let him...
Now at ease, Tom. From what you've told me, I'm not sure I'm not going to enjoy meeting Mr. Wellington.
Major Holland, I am J.B. Wellington.
Well, I'm glad to know you, sir. Give a chair?
Thank you. Why, Tom, I didn't see you there, sir.
How are you, Mr. Wellington?
I asked Sergeant Adams to stand by, Mr. Wellington. As I understand it, this was about the sergeant who wanted to see me.
Oh, well, I've nothing I couldn't say before, Tom, Major Holland, but I had expected to speak rather frankly, more or less on a man-to-man basis.
Major Holland, I can clear out...
No. Hold on, Tom. What was it you had in mind, Mr. Wellington?
Oh, well, it's a little awkward to say in front of Tom, but as his prospective father-in-law, I have a natural interest in what he's doing and what he expects to do with himself.
Oh, that's understandable.
Look, Mr. Wellington, Major Holland's a busy man. He can't take up his whole morning.
Tom, if you don't mind, I'd say we'll move faster on this without interrupting. Now, you tell me you're interested in what the sergeant's doing, Mr. Wellington.
Within the limits of what's classified and what isn't, of course. Now then, as I understand it, he's on pretty much of a routine assignment.
Good going, Tom.
I beg your pardon, Major.
Well, in this particular section, Mr. Wellington, we don't encourage too much shop talk outside. Oh, incidentally, I might tell you we found Tom Adams to be a good soldier.
I'm glad to hear that, Major.
The sergeant was recommended for officers' candidate school a month ago, and I took pleasure in endorsing the papers myself.
Major Holland, you didn't tell me
You'll go when you finish the job you're on, Tom, and that'll be sooner than you think. The point is, Mr. Wellington, what Tom's been doing here is about as far from a routine job as an assignment could be. He's been on a high-priority project and doing excellent work at it.
Oh, well, I am glad to hear that. And glad to know that...
I'll even go a little further, Mr. Wellington. If you and Mrs. Wellington and your daughter would care to see exactly what Tom's been working on, I'd suggest you make use of the passes I've asked Sergeant Kennedy outside to prepare for you. They'll be ready as you leave.
Major Howland, you've been hammering security into us ever since...
We're taking the wraps off P83E1 and P69 as of next week, Tom. Here, have a look at this order that came in this morning.
On the 25th. Major, we're actually giving a public showing on the sweeper over at Fort Myer on the 25th?
The 25th. And if your affairs allow it, Mr. Wellington, I hope your wife, yourself, and that fine daughter of yours will be at Fort Myer next week.
Well, of course.
If you get there, Mr. Wellington, I'd say you may feel a little better about how Sergeant Adams and quite a few more have been putting in their time.
The project Tom Adams had been helping complete final tests on at Aberdeen was the Skysweeper, the Army's new rapid-firing, radar-controlled 75mm anti-aircraft gun. And it was astonishing to more than the Wellingtons on the day press and public had their first look at this marvel of modern American ordnance.
Major Harlan, I'm looking at it and I still can't believe it. You say that gun finds its own moving plane targets and throws 45 12.5-pound shells a minute at them? Just like an artillery machine gun?
Yes, that's pretty much what it is, Mr. Wellington. The Army's largest caliber automatic artillery weapon. As far as we know, it's the first cannon in the world with radar, computer, and gun on one carry. The first one with gun and fire control integrated all the way.
Wait a minute, Major. You say that radar rig on the left side of the gun can spot enemy planes as far as 15 miles away?
Yes, and under certain conditions, it can spot moving tanks, Mr. Wellington. Normally, the radar scanner sweeps the whole sky automatically once every 40 seconds. If it picks up a hostile plane, it throws the target data over to the computer and keeps tracking it to within range. The computer's in that console there, you see, on the right side of the gun?
Where the second operator is, the young fellow just beyond town.
Yes, right. Now, one man's on the radar, one on the electronic computer. Once the gun's touched off, it can keep reloading and firing itself automatically.
What was it you said the computer does after the radar finds the target, Major Holland?
It works out range, speed, and course of the target plane instantaneously, Mrs. Wellington, and feeds that data to the power control. Now, not where the target is at any moment, but where it's going to be at the exact second the shell reaches it.
The way on to would lead a duck by shooting ahead of it.
Right again. Except in this case, the computer isn't going by guess and maybe. It keeps correcting course and holds the moving gun locked on that target until it's destroyed. Now, out with the target and that 12.5-pound
The gun can do all that, Corporal?
Look, Miss Wellington, that Skysweeper can do everything but pass out cups of coffee to the guys handling it.
Well, I suppose I should know this, Corporal, but what happens at night or in a heavy fog if the plane comes in fast? You can't even see.
Miss Wellington, that radar finder doesn't know darkness and fog from high noon on a sunny day. Midnight or morning, high or low, either side of the sound barrier. It can pick up any enemy plane and knock it down up to 4 miles away.
Corporal, I almost feel sorry for any enemy pilot who tried coming in against something like that. They wouldn't have a chance.
Well, let's hope they feel sorry enough for themselves not to try coming in. No planes have to tangle with this gun.
I'm still talking, Major. You say that this 10-ton setup here can be hauled anywhere and be in operation 5 minutes later?
On rough or level terrain, Mr. Wellington, in place and with radar functioning within 5 minutes. Can even be carried by plane.
And all the while I thought Tom Adams was marking time on some routine duty. He's been on business.
Yes, he and quite a few hundred more. Tom's been one of the testers since we got it at Aberdeen, Mr. Wellington. But the development of this gun began back in '44. The Ordnance Corps first started making up its specifications for the Skysweeper during World War II, when plane speeds began stepping up. At Watertown Arsenal, the very
Tom!
Oh, hi, Judy. I'll be with you in a minute. Honey, I'll have a 20-minute break as soon as we get the gun jacked up and back on its mount. You think your folks would like to get some coffee over at the post?
Tom, if you tried to get away today without letting Dad take your hand, I honestly think he'd explode.
He got that much of a kick out of seeing the gun?
Kick out of it. Daddy, he's back there trying to tell people his future son-in-law practically invented, designed, and made the Skysweeper single-handedly.
Ordnance technicians were sweating out all the tough details on this long before I ever got in the Army. At arsenals, at factories all over the country.
Tom, you'll have to go easy on Dad. He's just learning how to be as proud of you as I've always been.
Wait a minute, Judy. After today, I think it's the Army you'd better start getting proud of.
Darling, I am proud of the Army, but I'm marrying just one sergeant named Tom Adams. And all I can really think about...
Maybe you'd better concentrate on that coffee break. Look, I'll see you in about 10 minutes, right?
I'll get Dad and Mom. We'll be over by the barrier. More coffee, Dad?
No, thanks, Judy. I think I have a phone call to make.
A phone call, Mr. Wyatt?
Yes, on that new dock out at the fishing camp, Tom. You remember I thought it ought to be put on the far side of the cove, and you thought it should stay on the near side?
Well, I don't see as it matters too much one way or the other, Mr. Wyatt. If you'd rather have it on the far side...
Oh, look here now. Do you think I don't know good advice from a good man when I get it? I'm calling that contractor and telling him the dock goes on the near side.
Dad, you don't have
And if Tom says to run the dock clear out to the middle of the bay, that's exactly where it's going to go. I'll be back in a minute, Tom. And if you and Judy will put up with me, I'd like to do some listening while you tell us more about that reading, writing, and arithmetic figuring gun that you and the Army have got out there.
Young man, if you're a high school graduate, if you have a leaning toward the world of science, there's a big opportunity waiting for you in the United States Army. If you're qualified, you can now enlist directly for guided missile schooling. You'll get 8 weeks of basic training at the famous Aberdeen Proving Ground in Maryland. Then you can choose whether to go into guided missile repair work or into the field of electronics. You'll be assured of lifelong employment because your highly specialized training will make you stand out. Your technical skill will make you a valuable asset to the whole industry of electronics. Visit your local U.S. Army and U.S. Air Force recruiting stations. Get all the details on how you can qualify to enlist in the Army for guided missile training. This has been another program on Proudly We Hail, presented transcribed in cooperation with this station. Proudly We Hail is produced by the Recruiting Publicity Center for the United States Army and United States Air Force Recruiting Service. This is Kenneth Bangmark speaking and inviting you to tune in the same station next week for another interesting story on Proudly We Hail.
Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo present the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson and Tom Conway as Sherlock Holmes. Well, once again, it's time to keep that weekly date with our old friend and genial host, Dr. Watson. I'm sure he's expecting us, so let's join him, shall we? Good evening, Dr. Watson.
Good evening, Mr. Bell. As you can see, I'm quite ready for you. A crackling fire in the grate, some port in the decanter over there, and although I smoke a pipe myself, I think you'll find those cigars rather special.
All the fixings for a session of storytelling, eh, Dr. Watson? Well, which particular Sherlock Holmes adventure have you selected for tonight?
A story that I call The Strange Case of the Persecuted Millionaire.
Sounds promising.
In some respects, my boy, I think it was one of the oddest adventures we ever had. It was a case in which Sherlock Holmes narrowly prevented a shocking tragedy, and yet, at the conclusion of the affair, he appeared in a most unusual role. The role of a rather lean and elderly Cupid.
This I've got to hear. But before you begin, Dr. Watson, do you mind if I...
Have a word with our listeners? Of course not, Mr. Bell, of course not.
Men, neat-looking, well-groomed hair does so much to give a man that air of success, to say nothing of adding to his good looks. And I'm sure you'll be interested in hearing more about this modern trend in hair grooming, which has become such a nationwide favorite. It's called Kreml Hair Tonic. This highly specialized hair tonic contains a combination of hair grooming ingredients which is found in no other hair tonic. Yes, that's exactly why Kreml gives a man's hair such a natural, well-groomed look and keeps it in place longer, keeps every lock in perfect order from morning till night. Yet Kreml never gives hair that cheap, greasy, patent leather look. Kreml keeps hair looking mighty handsome with a rich, healthy-looking luster, yet it always feels and looks so clean on your hair and scalp. Men, if you aren't already using a hair tonic, try Kreml. If you're using some other hair dressing, change to Kreml. Just see if your hair doesn't look much better than it ever did before. Better groomed, better looking. Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, I want to hear about the strange case of the persecuted millionaire.
Well, Mr. Bell, that adventure began in Baker Street on a grey November day at the turn of the century. Sherlock Holmes and I had just finished our lunch, I remember, and were sitting each side of a blazing fire, just like you and I are tonight. The great man, his feet thrust out before him, was lying back in his chair, his long, thin hands locked behind his head, and a curved pipe jutting out the corner of his mouth was emitting great clouds of grey-blue smoke. After a few moments, I noticed that he was gazing at my boots with very marked attention.
But why Turkish, Watson?
The boots are English. I got them at Latimer's in Oxford Street.
Not the boots, the bath. Why the relaxing and expensive Turkish bath rather than the invigorating homemade article?
Oh, because for the last few days I've been having some nasty twinges of rheumatism. By the way, I'm sure the connection between my boots and the Turkish bath is perfectly obvious to you, Holmes, but I'm completely mystified.
You're in the habit of doing up your boots in a certain way. I observe that on this occasion they're tied in a double bow. You have, therefore, had them off. Who has retied them? A bootmaker or the boy at the Turkish bath? But your boots are nearly new. Then what remains? The bath. Absurdly simple, isn't it?
When you explain it.
Come in. Yes, Mrs. Hudson.
It's a note for you, Mr. Holmes. A messenger boy just brought it.
Thank you, Mrs. Hudson.
Who's it from, Holmes?
I swear that only reigning royalty can be as presumptuous as an American businessman. Read it for yourself.
I shall be at your lodgings at 2 tomorrow. Be there. And it's signed John V. Harden. Be there. Huh. Sounds an extremely arrogant fellow. What makes you think that he's an American?
The use of the initial for the middle name is peculiar to that country.
Oh. By Joe, it's nearly 2 o'clock now, Holmes.
Yes. Let's see what we can find out about the gentleman. Where's that Encyclopedia of American Biography? Ah, here it is. H.A. Hanley, Hanson, Harden. Here's our man, Watson. John Vincent Harden.
What does it say about him?
Born in Chicago, 45 years old, unmarried. Chiefly noted for his tremendous tobacco interests and his addiction to fishing.
It's an odd combination.
And this is odder. He made his professional debut as a violinist 30 years ago. A millionaire musician.
Ah, that must be him now. Yes, there's a most impressive broom and pair outside.
Then, since my client is a violinist, I think I'll welcome him appropriately. Hand me my instrument, will you, old chap?
Holmes? Funny way to start a business interview, I must say.
Mr. Harden sounds like an aggressive man. And music hath charms to soothe.
Come in.
Mr. Harden to see you, sir.
Thank you, Mrs. Hudson. Come in, Mr. Harden. I'm Sherlock Holmes, and this is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson.
How do you do, sir?
How do you do? If we're to do business, Mr. Holmes, for heaven's sake, put that violin away. I heard you scraping away as I came up the stairs.
So you don't care for my friend's playing, sir?
I don't care for anyone's playing. I loathe the fiddle.
Curious. I was under the impression...
Listen, Mr. Holmes, I haven't come here to discuss your musical impressions. I've come here to talk about my personal safety and my sanity.
Then pray talk about it, Mr. Harden.
I'm being persecuted. Somebody's trying to drive me crazy.
Oh, really? Just what form does this persecution take, Mr. Harden?
Yeah, it began about a month ago. My horse ran away in Rotten Row and threw me. Maybe it was an accident, maybe not. I've heard of burrs under saddles. And then, last night...
Something else happened?
Someone destroyed Methuselah.
Methuselah? An old retainer of yours, Mr. Harden? Or a pet?
No. Methuselah was the finest, largest, oldest tarpon ever caught.
A stuffed fish? You asked Sherlock Holmes?
Quiet, Watson. I'm sure that a great deal more lies behind this. Please continue, Mr. Harden.
Everything was going fine, Mr. Holmes, until these persecutions started. Early this year, I bought a fine old house in Cavendish Place. I'm engaged to be married to Alicia Edwards, the Honorable Alicia Edwards. She's Lord Brentwood's daughter. My life was perfect until I began to get these notes.
What sort of notes, Mr. Harden?
They kept turning up in odd places. My coat pockets, under my pillows at night. I found them on the upholstery of my carriage.
You brought these notes with you?
Of course.
All in the same handwriting, and all the messages seem to have the same theme.
Oh, what do they say, Holmes?
The first one says, you thought he had no one to avenge him, didn't you? And this one says, you murdered him, you will pay for it. And this is curious. It will have blood. They say blood will have blood. That quotation is from Macbeth.
Oh, then that means the note was written by an Englishman.
Not necessarily, Watson. It's possible that they've heard of Shakespeare in America, you know.
Oh, I suppose they might have.
Mr. Harden, all these messages threaten your death. Can you think of anyone who might wish to kill you?
No, I can't. I've never hurt anyone, much less killed a person.
The notes don't make any sense.
Do you recognize the handwriting?
I've never seen it before in my life.
You mentioned that your prize tarpon was mutilated. What members of your household might have had the opportunity of performing that act of vandalism?
3 people. My secretary, Margaret Bates, Stephen, my brother, and my fiancée. They were all at the house last night.
There seems to be a clear pattern to this case, Mr. Harden. I suggest that you return to your home and obtain for me samples of the handwriting of the 3 people you've mentioned. When I've examined those, I shall be in a better position to advise you in this matter.
Holmes, you've spent 3 hours with a magnifying glass and those samples of handwriting that Mr. Harden brought back. Have you found the clue?
Nothing positive, Watson. It's quite curious. The handwriting of the threatening note seems to be that of a male with an American education.
Oh, why do you say that?
Observe this note.
Who dies unavenged can never sleep with honor.
You'll notice that honor is spelt without a U. That's the American way.
Then that means that his fiancée didn't write him.
She might have deliberately spelt it that way to remove suspicion from herself. No, I'm afraid these samples prove nothing.
Then we're no nearer finding out who's responsible.
Well, at least we've ruled out an obvious possibility. Come in. Yes, Mr. Hudson.
It's a telegram, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Better get your coat and hat, Watson.
It's from Mr. Harden?
Yes. He says, a worse blow has fallen. Come at once.
I'm Margaret Bates, Mr. Harden's secretary.
How do you do?
How do you do? What happened, Miss Bates? We left as soon as we received his wire.
I don't know what happened, Mr. Holmes, but I'm terribly worried. He rushed out here, dictated that telegram, and then went back and locked himself in the study. He says he'll see no one but you.
Hello, Margaret.
Oh, Stephen, you startled me.
What's the matter? Did you think I was listening at the keyhole?
Oh.
Introduce me to our visitors, won't you?
This is Stephen, Mr. Harden's brother, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, and Dr. Watson.
How do you do?
Sherlock Holmes and his friend, huh? I've heard about you. Don't tell me Brother John has fallen foul of the law.
No, sir. He needs its protection, I fear.
Don't be too sure. I'm thinking of taking him to court myself on a charge of woman stealing.
Your brother a kidnapper? Great Scott.
No, Dr. Watson. It's perfectly legal. It's just that I saw Alicia Edwards first, but then, of course, I don't control the Harden millions.
Let's go to the study, shall we, Mr. Holmes?
An excellent idea. Perhaps we'll see you later, sir.
Perhaps. And don't take John too seriously.
Oh, he's hateful. Always making fun of John, his brother. And yet Stephen's never done a day's work in his life. This is the door to the study.
Who is it?
Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson are here.
Good.
Come in. Thank you, Margaret.
I'll see you gentlemen later.
What form did the new attack take, Mr. Harden?
This time it's theft. My safe was rifled last night.
What was stolen, sir?
An extremely valuable document. It was the key to my agreement with the British Tobacco Trust. The loss of the paper will represent $1 million to me. But that isn't what upsets me most. Money I can afford to lose, but my sanity is more valuable. In the safe, I found another note, Holmes.
May I see it, please?
Here.
The coffin is made, the funeral parlor is ready, the time is ripe. The croaking raven doth bellow for revenge.
Good Lord, what a frightening message.
And once again observe the odd combination of Shakespeare and American idiom. Funeral parlor is what we refer to as an undertaker's, and the croaking raven comes from Hamlet.
Holmes, I'm not a weak man, but I'm frightened. You've got to protect me.
I shall do my best, Mr. Harden. Who was here last night?
My secretary, Margaret Bates, my fiancée. She went back to London this morning.
I met your brother, Stephen, just now. I noticed that he was carrying a valise. Was he leaving the house or returning to it?
Returning. He went out of town last night.
Oh, then that rules him out.
Not until we investigate his alibi, Watson. Mr. Harden, I'm a constant and thorough reader of the Times. The engagement of a peer's daughter to a prominent American would be striking news. And yet I've read nothing about it.
We're announcing it formally tomorrow. I'm giving a party at Claridge's to celebrate the event.
Then I think it would be a wise precaution if Dr. Watson and I attended that party.
I was about to suggest the same thing, Holmes. I need to have men about me I can trust. I think this is a deliberate plot to drive me mad. Holmes, Dr. Watson, I want you to meet my fiancée, Miss Alicia Edwards. Alicia, my dear.
Yes, John.
I want to introduce Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson.
How do you do? May I congratulate you on your engagement?
Yes, indeed. A union between the old world and the new is an encouraging sign of the times.
I wish you could convince Papa of that, Mr. Holmes. Whenever he meets John, he always behaves as if he expected him to be wearing feathers and carrying a scalping knife.
Feathers and a knife. That's very funny.
I don't find it so.
Go on, Sergeant.
Excuse me. I want to talk to the officer.
Dear me. Now I've upset John again. He's ridiculously sensitive. Americans are really rather touching.
And yet you're going to marry one?
Papa's estates have eaten up a lot of money, and that's a commodity with which John seems well endowed. I think you understand me, Mr. Holmes.
I'm sure I do. Personally, I may say that I'm always glad to meet an American. I'm one of those who believes that the folly of a monarch and the blundering of a minister in far-gone years should not now stand between two nations.
Mr. Holmes, I find you pompous and dull. Goodbye.
On my soul, what an unpleasant, heartless young woman. She's obviously marrying Hardin for his money.
Obviously. Though I don't think she has an aversion to all Americans.
Oh? Why do you say that?
She has been dancing with Mr. Hardin's brother, Stephen, most of the evening. At this moment, he joined her at the door, and they're leaving together.
Wait, Scott, you think that the...
I don't understand with this.
Hello. What's happening up there on the orchestra?
John Hardin, he's arguing with one of the violinists.
A musician. I won't take any more of it.
Look. He snatched the instrument out of his hand.
Go on, get out of here. You're not fit to fiddle at an Irish wake. Out with you. The rest of you, go on, play.
Holmes, he's behaving like a madman. He's rushing after the musician and brandishing the violin as if he's going to brain him with it.
Yes, Watson. But that quarrel with the violinist was not a totally sane act. If the anonymous correspondent's motive is to undermine Hardin's reason, he may be succeeding.
But who has a motive? Might be the brother, Stephen. He's obviously jealous of the girl, and he probably is next in line for the Hardin millions.
But I checked his alibi for last night. He was out of town.
Stop the music! Stop playing!
What the devil's wrong now?
Holmes, where are you?
Here I am, Mr. Hardin.
Well, come with me at once.
What's wrong, sir?
It's Alicia. I found her in the corridor. She's been strangled.
In just a moment, we'll find out what happens next in the strange case of the persecuted millionaire. Hair specialists constantly advise us to take better care of the hair we've got. And men, don't forget that if you want your hair handsome and healthy looking, one of the first requirements is a hygienic scalp. So why settle for just any hairdressing when you can enjoy the extra advantages of this highly specialized Kreml hair tonic? Kreml contains a unique combination of hair grooming ingredients which is found in no other hair preparation. It keeps hair attractively groomed at all times, looking so neat and orderly. But Kreml does lots more than keep hair looking handsome. A Kreml massage stimulates circulation right in the surface of your scalp and leaves your scalp feeling so alive and invigorated, as fresh as a daisy. At the same time, Kreml removes dandruff flakes. It's excellent to lubricate a dry scalp. And if your hair is so dry that it breaks and falls when you comb it, Kreml actually helps condition the hair in that it makes it feel softer, more pliable. So men, take better care of the hair you've got. Buy a bottle of Kreml at any drug counter. Ask for an application at your barber shop. Use Kreml daily for better groomed hair, for a more hygienic scalp. Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic. Well, Dr. Watson, so the Honorable Alicia Edwards had been strangled at her engagement party. What happened next?
Well, I applied first aid, Mr. Bell, and found the girl was not dead. We rushed her to the hospital, and a few hours later, we were able to talk to her, but we found that she could give us no clue. When we left the room, Hardin was waiting for us in the corridor.
How is she? Is she going to be all right?
Oh, don't worry, Mr. Hardin. She'll be all right, but she's She had a very narrow escape.
But why attack her? Why not me?
The pattern becomes increasingly clear, Mr. Harden. Your enemy has struck at your fishing, your business, and now at your fiancée. So every blow is at your wealth and position.
And my sanity. Mr. Holmes, you've got to find out who's behind all this.
On the occasion of the mutilation of the fish, 3 people had the opportunity. Your brother Stephen is clear on the second attack, and on this last one, I think we may reasonably assume that your fiancée did not strangle herself.
Yes, I'll wager my medical reputation on that fact.
But that means that only one person who was present on all 3 occasions was... No, you can't mean...
Your secretary, Miss Bates? Where is she?
In the waiting room.
Splendid. Then Dr. Watson and I will take her back to Baker Street. I have an idea that she can be of invaluable help to us.
A little more tea, Miss Bates?
No, thank you, Dr. Watson.
Then please go on with your story.
As I was saying, Mr. Holmes, I've known John, Mr. Harden, all my life. My father was the Harden coachman. And as I grew up, I thought John Vincent Harden was the most wonderful man in the world.
Well, I imagine that he was quite different then, my dear.
Very different. He was young and romantic, and he loved music. He took violin lessons, and it turned out that he was a prodigy.
I understand that he made his professional debut at the age of 13.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. I was only a little girl then. But he used to tell me that he wasn't John Vincent Harden, the heir to the tobacco millions. He was Giovanni Vincenti, the great violinist.
Giovanni Vincenti? Odd. Pray continue, Miss Bates.
For 5 years, it seemed that he would be a great musician. Then, on his 18th birthday, his father gave him a lecture on his family obligations. Told him that it was his duty to go into the business. John broke his violin across his knee, Mr. Holmes, and he's never played since.
Miss Bates, I don't need to be a detective to deduce that you love him.
Of course I do. Or at least I love Giovanni Vincenti. And maybe he's still there. Somehow. Somewhere.
Of course. I've been an idiot. A numbskull.
What do you mean, Holmes?
The case is solved. Come, Miss Bates. We must return to Mr. Harden as fast as we can. I only hope we're not too late.
But why doesn't he answer? The servant said he locked himself in the study again.
No, door's locked.
I don't like the look of this. Come on, Watson. We'll break it in. Once more.
There's a revolver beside him, Holmes.
Miss Bates, please leave us. My friend's a doctor. He'll take care of him. He's only wounded.
Yes, it's just grazed his scalp.
Oh, thank heavens. I'll be waiting outside.
Obviously, this was attempted suicide. They finally succeeded in driving him mad.
Did they? Read this note lying here. It's in the same handwriting as the other messages.
I might try to fool another detective, but not you, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. I admit I shot John Vincent Harden. I'm sure you'll have no difficulty discovering how I escaped from a locked room. Good Lord.
You will observe that the note was written and blotted on this desk. Watson, I'll see to getting Mr. Harden to bed and summoning his own doctor. I want you to return to Baker Street.
Baker Street? Why?
Though the case is solved, I have some heavy thinking to do, and I must do it here. So be a good fellow and go back to our lodgings and get me 2 ounces of shag tobacco and my violin. How are you feeling now, Mr. Harden?
Weak, Holmes. But I'm all right.
You still can't remember anything, sir?
No, I felt half out of my mind since that attack was made on Alicia. They told me she'd be all right. I do faintly remember coming home from the hospital and locking myself in the study. Oh, the rest is a blank. What did happen, Mr. Holmes?
I'll give you the complete answer very shortly, Mr. Harden. Come on, Watson.
Very well. Try and rest, Mr. Harden. You've been through quite an ordeal.
I'll try, Doctor. I'll try.
Holmes, you left your violin in Harden's room. Did you mean to?
I meant to. And in the meanwhile, we must talk more seriously to Miss Bates.
Well, she's down here in the sitting room.
Yes. And Brother Stevens with her.
The first to know the good news, Margaret.
And may we inquire what the good news is, sir?
Oh, didn't see you fellas coming down the stairs. Well, there's no reason why you shouldn't hear it, too. I've just come from the hospital. Alicia's broken off her engagement to John. She's going to marry me.
Indeed. My congratulations.
Yes, sir, but I suggest you don't tell your brother the news. He's a very sick man.
No, I won't. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to celebrate.
From the sparkle in your eye, Miss Bates, I can see that you're just as excited as Stevens is.
Of course I am. But tell me, Mr. Holmes, have you found out who attacked John?
Yes, Miss Bates. At last I know the name of Mr. John Vincent Harden's enemy. On the incident of the mutilated fish, you or Stephen or Alicia might have been guilty. On the stolen document, you or Alicia. And on the attack on that lady, you or Stephen, which seemed to leave only you.
But I was having tea with both of you in Baker Street when John was shot.
Precisely. As perfect an alibi as I've ever known.
Then no one person was responsible. There must have been accomplices.
No, Watson.
Oh, sir.
Remember another fact. The note, supposedly written after the attempted murder, was blotted at the very desk which the wounded man was slumped over. Isn't it clear?
Frankly, no.
The persecutor and the would-be murderer of John Vincent Harden is Giovanni Vincenti.
But they're one and the same man. Miss Bates told us so.
They were the same man. But Harden forced the dominant part of his character into annihilation. When he destroyed his violin, he thought he had destroyed Giovanni Vincenti.
But his alter ego was still dormant.
Yes. And after the shock of the writing accident in Rotten Row, Giovanni Vincenti emerged, hunting for revenge.
You mean that poor John really has a dual personality, Mr. Holmes?
Yes, my dear. No one person seemed to have the opportunity of committing all the attacks. But we left one person off our list. John Vincent Harden himself.
But why, Holmes? For heaven's sake, why?
Giovanni Vincenti struck at the fish, the document, and at the fiancée. All symbols of what Harden had gained for himself. Finally, he attacked Harden's life.
But, Mr. Holmes, what will happen now? He's out of his mind. They won't send him to an asylum, will they?
I think not, Miss Bates. There's a possibility that this second shock, this self-inflicted wound on the skull, may cure him. Don't you agree, Watson?
Yes, I do. It's perfectly possible there'll be a complete reintegration of personality.
Listen.
It's John, and he hasn't touched a violin for ages.
So that's why you left your violin in his room, Holmes?
Exactly. Now, Giovanni Vincenti and John Vincent Harden are again one man, one whole and sound man. I trust he may create a new life for himself. And I'm convinced that he has here the woman who will help him.
Ladies, you certainly must notice how men are attracted by bright, shimmering highlights in a woman's hair. Then why not follow this beauty tip from the famous $1 Million Powers models, girls noted for their glossy, bright hair?
Powers models wash their hair with Kreml shampoo. This amazingly beautifying Kreml shampoo has been especially developed so that it actually glamour bathes each tiny strand of hair and uncovers all its natural radiant luster.
Yes, and Kreml shampoo never dries the hair. In fact, it has a beneficial oil base which helps keep the hair from becoming dry or brittle.
Its luxurious active foam thoroughly cleanses the hair and scalp and removes all loose dandruff as well as the dirt.
So, ladies, buy a bottle of Kreml shampoo at any drug counter. See how easy it is to glamour bathe your hair to a vision of tantalizing loveliness, hair shimmering with natural brilliant luster. Kreml, Kreml shampoo. Now, Dr. Watson, what about next week?
Oh, now, let me see. Next week, I'll tell you about one of the most exciting adventures that Holmes and I ever had. I call it The Adventure of the Haunted Bagpipes.
Haunted bagpipes, huh? Where did you hear them?
In Edinburgh, Mr. Bell. In the same room with 3 naked corpses.
Tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure was suggested by an incident in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Solitary Cyclist. The Sherlock Holmes series is produced by Tom McKnight with original music composed and conducted by Alex Steinert. Nigel Bruce appeared by permission of California Pictures. Tom Conway through the courtesy of Eagle Lion Pictures. This is Joseph Bell speaking for Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo and inviting you to be with us next week at this same time when Dr. Watson will tell us about the adventure of the haunted bagpipes. This is Boy Scout Week. Let's all back our scouts and their theme. Scouts of the world, building for tomorrow. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
Crime does not pay.
All right, what's your specialty, Chicago?
Chicago piano. The chopper. You know.
Yes, I know. And you, Sykes?
I pinpoint 'em, Miss Roberts, with a rifle. Telescope sight drills 'em neat like.
Well, so I have a choice of weapons. You boys ever met the Duke?
Never set eyes on him.
Me neither.
Practically perfect. I think we have a good beginning. From here on in, we'll do all right. The plan's good.
You got a finger man for the job? We never seen a Duke. Don't want to take no chances and get the wrong character.
There'll be no finger man.
Well, what then?
There'll be a finger woman. Me.
In the interest of good citizenship and law enforcement, we present Crime Does Not Pay, based on the famous Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer series of short subjects. In just a moment, you will hear The Doll, starring Sarah Hayden. Now, Crime Does Not Pay, starring Sarah Hayden as Diane Roberts in The Doll. Somewhere along the line from girlhood to mature womanhood, Diane Roberts took the wrong turning. Somewhere, for some reason which kept close within her, bitterness became her chief emotion. At some moment, that bitterness curdled, and Diane shut everything out of her mind and her life except the passion for power. Power she would have, even the power of life and death. Diane reached her goal. The nightclub she controlled with their associated rackets gave her wealth and made her a member of the National Combination, the dreaded syndicate which ruled organized crime. Diane, known as the Doll, was sophisticated, sharp-witted, and dangerous.
So you think you want to work for me?
Yes, Miss Roberts.
Good figure. Attractive face. You certainly don't look hard. Why do you want to work for me?
Well, I want to make some money. I've got to support myself.
A man let you down?
Do I have to answer that?
You have. Who told you to come to me?
I just came.
People don't just come to me. Certainly not people with a corn-fed look on you. Who sent you?
Mr. Arnold.
How did you get to him?
Does that matter, Miss Roberts? I met him. He told me a girl could learn plenty from you, that you knew all the tricks and then some, he said. He told me after I'd been with you for a while, I'd get smart enough to go in business for myself, in some other town.
He lied.
I don't understand.
Look, kid, what Duke your Mr. Arnold had in mind to do with you, I don't know. I don't care. But working for me the way he meant would get you nothing. A few dollars, that's all. So be smart. Forget it.
You sound as if you don't like Mr. Arnold. I thought you were associated.
I don't have to like him to split the rackets with him and some other men. If I see him once a year, it's a lot. And I don't like his methods, any of them. For instance, I don't like what he forgot to tell you.
Forgot to tell me?
Yes. That nobody goes into any phase of my business, from nightclub camera girls to shaking down exclusive women's shops, without an okay from me. And that goes for the whole country.
Then I couldn't have gone into business myself.
Not a chance, kid. Even if you started by lugging a camera in some nightclub. That's for dumb blondes. I don't think you're dumb. I do think Duke had some other ideas, like getting the inside of my operations for his own purposes. Do you take shorthand?
Yes, I do.
Work for $60 a week?
60? When do I start?
That's what I like. start now. Answer the phone.
Yes, Miss Roberts. Miss Roberts' office.
Is she there? Miss King Porter.
One moment, please. I'll see. It's a Mr. Porter.
The King. Kid, say, what is your name?
Mitzi Allen.
All right, Mitzi. When the King calls, I'm always in. Give me the phone. Hello, King?
Doll, there's a meeting tomorrow night, my apartment.
For everybody?
Everybody except the Duke.
Oh?
He's been getting out of line. You'll get the details tomorrow. Ernie and Pete are flying in. Be there.
Well, so the Duke is going to get his comeuppance. At last.
I want the Duke.
Why, King?
Seems to me he's done pretty well for us.
He's one of us, King. What have you got on him?
You haven't seen the accountant's reports for the first 6 months of this year, have you?
The Duke falling down on the job?
He's getting too good for himself.
You got the sheets, King?
Now, see for yourself, Ernie.
Yeah, I see. Number of jukeboxes up. Take is reported down. Hey, what's this sheet?
It's just a little survey I had made. It's evidence.
Pinballs. And slot machines, too.
Which rather cuts in on your part of our deal, doesn't it?
Getting big for his britches, isn't he?
Has he been making book on the side?
Not yet, but that's in the cards, too, I'd say.
Doll,
Yes, Peter?
you've been very quiet.
Why make talk when it's obvious the King is right?
Well, you said it yourself. He's one of us, just under the hood.
And that makes it worse if we can't trust each other.
Any sign of the Duke having plans in your direction, Doll?
As a matter of fact, there has been a sign. He sent a girl to me for a job. I have an idea he meant to use her somehow. And she's working for me. But not for him.
You sure?
I'm sure.
All right. Our boy seems to have big ideas. Very big ideas, and I want him taken care of.
Where and when?
Well, he's here in town as quickly as possible. Cowboy job depends.
On what?
On the plans. I think it's best we leave the plans to the party who gets the job.
You know what you want, King. Let's hear it.
All right. Ernie, I want you seen in Las Vegas every night for the next 2 weeks.
That'll be a pleasure.
You lose your shirt on the machine.
Oh, I don't mind giving Pete some loose change.
Where do you want me, King?
Miami Beach. And I'll be in New York. Perfect alibis.
I see. Why me?
Well, now, Doll, I'm sorry, but when you came in with us, it meant that you assumed equal responsibility.
I'm not complaining. Just asking. Why me?
Because you're the one of us who's least known. Because you're the last one that the Duke's mob or the police will tie in with a killing.
Do I get any help?
I can let you have a couple of my boys.
Are they good?
The best. Neat workmen, too, all things considered.
Names?
Chicago Reed and Sipes Jackson. When do you want them?
The day you gentlemen arrive at your destinations. That will be...
Day after tomorrow.
I'll be expecting them.
It's settled then. Take care of it any way you think best, but do it within 2 weeks. Check?
Check.
I'll be very interested to read about it in the New York papers. Ought to make a big headline. Don't you think?
Come in. Yes, Mitzi?
2 men are outside.
Nice looking?
Not very. They want to see you.
Names?
No. One of them said to tell you they want to give you regards from Mr. Vincent.
Well, right on schedule. Send them in, Mitzi. Stay out yourself. And I don't want to be disturbed by anything. Except, of course, the King if he calls.
Yes, Miss Roberts. You may come in, gentlemen.
Care to identify yourselves, boys?
I'm Reed. Chicago Reed.
Jackson's the name. Sipes Jackson.
Know what you're here for?
A job.
We figured it was important. Pete just said go to the Doll. She's the boss on this one.
You care how big the target is?
The bigger they come.
We want the Duke.
Well, I thought it wasn't no small-time gorilla.
Any hesitations?
You want a job? We do it.
All right. What's your specialty, Chicago?
Chicago piano, the chopper. You know.
Yes, I know. And you, Sykes?
I pinpoint 'em, Miss Roberts, with a rifle. Telescope sight drills 'em neat like.
Oh, so I have a choice of weapons. You boys ever meet the Duke?
Never set eyes on him.
Me neither.
Practically perfect. I think we have a good beginning. From here on in, we'll do all right if the plan is good.
You got a finger man for the job? We never seen a Duke. Don't want to take no chances and get the wrong character.
There'll be no finger man.
For what, then?
There'll be a finger woman. Me. Mitzi?
Yes, Miss Roberts.
Get me this number. On this phone, not through the switchboard.
Yes. Oh,
Something surprise you?
it's Mr. Arnold's number.
This surprises you?
Why should you call him?
Purely a matter of business.
Of course, Miss Roberts.
You recognize his private number.
He gave it to me. Wouldn't let me write it down, made me memorize.
Apparently he expected you to use it.
I guess so. But since I've been with you, I haven't.
I know that.
Yeah?
Mr. Arnold.
Baby, where you been?
Miss Roberts calling, Mr. Arnold. Here he is, Miss Roberts.
Thank you. Hello, Duke.
The doll. Well. Miracles do happen. Looking for a date, doll?
I want to talk business with you, Duke.
I get it. The king's in the big town, Ernie's in Las Vegas, and Pete's in Miami, or so the papers say. And while the cat's away, the mice can play. Right?
Possibly. When and where can I see you, Duke?
How about my place? Tonight?
You don't waste time, do you?
Not with the girls, doll. How about tonight?
I'll be there.
Miss Roberts, you're going to him? Isn't that like the fly on the spider?
You might put it that way, little one. With a slight twist in reverse. This time, the spider is going to walk into the parlor. The Black Widow spider.
In just a moment, Crime Does Not Pay will continue with The Doll. Now we continue with Crime Does Not Pay, starring Sarah Hayden as Diane Roberts in The Doll. The doll made her preparations carefully. There was no actual plan as yet, merely the hazy beginnings of an outline. But Seitz drove her car, and Chicago was only half a block behind in another car when she went calling on the Duke. He opened the door for her himself. She walked into his living room, looked around.
You have excellent taste, Duke. I like your place.
Not mine. I pay the best decorator in town to pretty up the joint.
Wonderful what money will do, isn't it? Oh, the chairs not only look well, they sit well.
Drink?
No, thank you.
Cigarette?
Not just now, thank you.
No minor vices?
That sounds as if you expected me to have a few major ones.
Do you?
Well, a smart woman never admits to such things. She expects a man to find out for himself.
This is the first chance to find out anything about you.
Didn't you try? With the Allen girl?
I had some such idea. Mitzi's smarter than I thought.
She's bright.
She's bright enough to know that loyalty pays off in the racket.
To a point.
To a point. You interest me, Diane.
What did you call me?
Diane. Why?
That's the first time in years. Why?
Because for some reason, you're not the doll tonight. You ought to be as hard as the diamonds you're wearing, but you're not.
Mm-hmm. Why did you expect me to be hard?
And the few times I've seen you across the table at our meetings, it was just as if a man was sitting in your place. Tonight,
You're all woman.
Well, that'll be enough of that.
Why, Diane? Afraid to be a woman?
I came here to talk business.
Wearing that perfume?
Oh, stop it, Duke. I'm 10 years older.
Not tonight, honey. Tonight, you're Diane, who's surprised at herself and a little afraid of herself.
That's a line, Duke. I'm old enough to know.
Ah, but you love it, don't you?
Duke, how about a deal? You'd like to cut in on my business. I'd like to expand into yours. We might pick up some of Ernie's and Pete's as we go along. We could even get the king out of the way.
You're not making much sense, Diane.
I suppose I'm not. What would Mitzi do in a situation like this?
Mitzi? She'd relax. Wait.
Relax and wait.
Yes. She'd let the moment take care of itself. Period.
I see. Period.
No, my mistake. Not period. Colon. The punctuation mark, which means as follows.
Morning. Diane?
What? Oh, you.
Yeah, me. Again.
What do you want?
I want to see you. Tonight.
No, Duke. Absolutely no.
Tonight.
It's no use, darling.
What did you call me?
Darling. But I didn't mean
Tonight, Diane.
tonight. It's taking a little time, King. I've got to soften him up first.
Now, look, doll, it's 3 days past your 2 weeks. I want the Duke. And I want him in 48 hours, you understand?
I may not be able to deliver him.
Cut that out. You want me to believe you're making a deal with him?
Oh, you know I'm not.
All right, but I'm beginning to need proof.
Proof from me?
Yes, I want the Duke. 2 days. Now make up your mind, doll. It's him or both of you.
Got it straight, boys?
That's his front window straight across the street.
Right. Now repeat the plan. You tight.
We stay here. You keep your date with the Duke. You get him to the window. When he's standing there, I let him have it with the old dirty-dirty.
That's it.
A cinch.
This is the rifle, Miss Roberts. Ain't it a beaut? Look at the sight. Why, a kid couldn't miss with this. Go ahead. You can touch it if you want to.
Touch it? I couldn't. I'd feel as if my fingers would drop off.
You know, Di, I used to go for all the young babes. I had this place fixed up for that kind, like Mitzi.
And now?
You spoil me, Di. Their kind looks like exactly nothing to me.
I wish you hadn't said that. It's not that either.
Well, what's the matter? You sick or something?
No, I'll be all right.
You feel faint? It's awful stuffy in here.
It's all right, I said.
I can open a window anyway.
No, Duke. Leave the window alone.
Di.
I mean, it's not stuffy in here at all. I like it just the way it is.
Well, suit yourself. Hey. Stop pacing like that. Sit down, relax.
And let the moment take care of itself. Right?
Huh?
You said that the first time I came here. Duke, what did you expect that night?
What I'd always seen before. The doll, ready to do business on a big scale. All business. Sharp, dangerous.
Dangerous.
You are. You're dynamite. Die for dynamite. But not in the way I expected. Darling, you sure put me out of circulation. Me, the Duke, who never dated a day more than twice.
Stop it, Duke. I can't stand it.
Oh, what is this? Conscience?
There's nothing on my conscience. I don't believe I have one. I killed it long ago when you were in knee pants.
If this isn't the silliest conversation... Listen. Come here, sweet. We got better things to do than
No,
talk.
don't.
Oh, what are you, hysterical? Let me get to that window.
Get away from me. it. Yes.
I want to open it.
No, Duke. It's cold. I want to stay warm.
Excuse me a moment, Di. Yes?
Mr. Arnold, is Miss Roberts there?
Hold the phone. For you, Di. The Allen girl. But don't you want to answer?
All right. Yes, Mitzi?
Miss Roberts, it's the King on the other phone. He wants to know if...
Duke! Get away from the window! Mitzi, tell the King what he called about it. Just been taken care of.
Let's see him, Chicago.
Full house. Any arguments?
No arguments. Another hand, Miss Roberts?
No, thanks. Poker's dull tonight, Sykes.
Yeah, it always is after a job.
Did you look at him, Miss Roberts? Was it a neat job?
Practically perfect.
It's a swell club you got here, Miss Roberts. It's real class.
Best thing about it, now the doorman and the head waiter. They'll swear on a stack of Bibles we've been playing poker here all night.
You think of everything, Miss Roberts.
You sure do.
Do I? How about a little excitement, a real game?
Give me a chance to win back what Chicago took from me.
Not tonight. I'm hot tonight.
No. A different game. Look.
Hey, that's no lady's gun.
Police positive. 38 special.
My own. The King gave it to me when I joined the National Combination. You boys game? For Russian roulette?
I don't like to play with guns.
One chamber is loaded. You know the game. Spin the cylinder, hold the muzzle to your head, pull the trigger. 5 chances to 1, you'll live.
Well,
Afraid to take a dare?
Oh, me? Give me that gun.
No, Sykes.
Shut up. Here goes nothing.
He got it. He got it. Like he gave it to Duke. In the head. You next, Chi?
I ain't so sure only one chamber was loaded. I want to see that gun.
See it, Chi. Look down its muzzle. Look carefully. You were right. All 6 chambers were loaded.
You're nuts. You're a crazy, nutsy Dave.
You're crawling, Chicago. You're so scared of dying, you're crawling. Both of them. Okay, Duke. Now myself. You're a fool. That's not the way. It leaves the King and the other 2 behind.
Miss Roberts, you coming here?
I've got to use the phone, Mary.
The phone in here?
I don't have a phone in my office here. When I come here, I don't want to be disturbed. Give me a nickel, Mary.
Yes, Miss Roberts. The phone's right there.
No booth here. No privacy for the girls, is there?
Can I get you something?
Not now.
Police department.
Give me homicide, quickly.
Yes, ma'am. Homicide. Sergeant Gordon.
Sergeant, this is Diane Roberts.
What's your trouble, miss?
I've just killed 2 men, and the 3rd is dead because of me.
Say, who are you, the doll?
Yes, I am.
What is this, a gag?
Come over here, Sergeant. The Whistle Club, you know where it is. Come over here quickly before I lose control of myself. You can have me in the combination, King Porter, Ernie Blackfeet, Spencer, all of us. We'll go together. You can't have the Duke. He's gone already. He's gone. I fingered him myself. Tonight.
pay. Sarah Hayden, who starred as Diane Roberts in The Doll, will be back with you in just a moment. Now, here in person is Sarah Hayden.
Diane Roberts bore a grudge against the world. She chose the way of violence and crime to work out that grudge. And like most people of this type, she came to the point where she found the violence had turned upon herself. That her way of life was unbearable. That nothing was left to look forward to except the end. Diane Roberts learned too late, as most men and women of her ilk always learn too late, that crime does not pay.
Thank you, Miss Hayden. Crime Does Not Pay is written by Ira Marion and directed by Mark B. Loeb, with music composed and conducted by John Gart. Technical advisor is Burton B. Turtis. The events, characters, and names used in the story you have just heard are fictitious. Any similarity is purely coincidental. This is Bob Williams speaking.
Counterspy.
Washington calling David Harding, Counterspy. Washington calling David Harding, Counterspy.
Harding, Counterspy. Calling Washington. United States Counterspies, especially appointed to investigate and combat the enemies of our country, both at home and abroad. Commencing Sunday, November 5th, Counterspy reports to the American people will be brought to you on Sundays. Consult your local newspaper for the exact time. Tonight, the case of the carbon console.
Oh, come on, Horace. Must you walk so slowly?
Lydia, this African sun's the hottest I've been under during the whole world cruise. I'm not going to run in it.
Well, we'll never see the native quarter at this rate.
I didn't want to see it in the first place.
You never want to see anything except the bottom of a highball glass.
Well, what's so wonderful about this section? It's dirty, hot, and the natives aren't exactly smiling at us.
Oh, you're just imagining things. Besides, this is atmosphere.
So I smell. I feel that. Watch where you're going.
Oh, excuse me. I didn't look where I was going.
Doesn't the white lady have eyes?
What, I was just...
Or perhaps the walks of my native Tobastelan are not wide enough. I should step in the streets to allow the grand lady to pass. Look, my wife apologized. How gracious to a poor, humble native that the American should demean himself so.
Well, I never...
Come on, Lydia, let's get out of here. Yes, please. This is our land. Africa for the Africans.
Well, I never... Horace, are you going to let him get...
Quiet and keep walking. I told you the natives weren't really smiling.
But it was just an accident.
Yeah, that fellow was looking for trouble. See, he's got a crowd around him, Lydia. He's haranguing them.
Oh, he's pointing at us.
Come on, Lydia. We'll get the American consulate.
Horace, they're coming after us.
Watch out, Lydia. They're going to throw things.
Horace! Oh! I fell!
Come on, Lydia. This way. Run!
way it was, Mr. Burton. The whole thing started from Mrs. Walters bumping into the native.
I see.
And then the brute started shouting at me as though I'd attacked him. I was never so frightened in my life. I still haven't got my breath back. And the thread...
I'll see that restitution is made for the damage, Mrs. Walters.
The devil with that man. You're the American consul here in this heaven-forsaken country. Can't you see that American citizens are afforded some protection?
We do our best, Mr. Walters.
If we hadn't reached the consulate grounds, we might have been killed.
Mr. Walters, I'll enter a formal protest to the government of Tabascoland.
All right, and by gosh, you tell them that if they can't keep law and order here, we'll come over and do it for them.
I know how you feel. Mrs. Walters, I'll want you to dictate a formal statement of what happened to my secretary.
I certainly will, and I remember everything. You ready, Mr. Burton? She's one of them.
Mrs. Walters, please. Orissa, there's been another anti-American outbreak. Mr. and Mrs. Walters here were the targets of it. I want you to take down their statement of the incident.
Yes, Mr. Burton.
Make several copies. I want one each for the authorities here, President Dinard and Police Chief Monaca. And, of course, be sure to send a copy to the African desk of the State Department, Washington. They may want to take drastic action.
If Mr. Peters is in the Counterspy Statistical Department, will he please report to Mr. Harding immediately? If Mr. Peters is in the Counterspy Statistical Department, will he please...
Hello, Mr. Harding. I didn't think you'd gotten back from the State Department so quickly.
Everything happens quickly these days, Peter.
More trouble overseas?
Yes.
Asia?
This time, Africa. But it's all part of the same picture. Tabascoland, one of the few non-colonial countries on that continent.
Oh, yes. The papers yesterday. Anti-American riots.
Yes. Bad for us.
Is the State Department going to take any action, Chief?
Well, they may have to eventually. But first, they want to get a better picture of what's happening in that country.
So?
So, Peters, I want you to go through the personnel records of all our counterspy agents. Extract the records of all our Negro agents. Get them here as soon as possible.
Okay, Chief.
We've got to work fast. The State Department wants to find out whether this anti-American feeling is foreign-inspired before they're forced to make any more protests to the government of Tabascoland.
President Dinard, my country has asked me as consul to hand you, as head of the government of Tabascoland, this note, formally protesting the treatment of our nationals in your country.
I accept the note, Mr. Burton, with regret, and assure you that we will do all in our power to apprehend and punish the instigators of this disorder.
And now, Mr. President, may I presume to be less formal?
Yes, of course, Mr. Burton.
And unofficial?
Yes.
While awaiting your arrival, I've been talking to your state police chief, Monaca, here. He has some interesting ideas.
I'm sure he has.
I have only tried to be helpful, Mr. President.
I see, Monaca. Now, these interesting ideas, what are they?
I prefer that you hear them from the lips of Mr. Burton. He may give them more weight than a mere police official can.
Your Majesty is most unusual, Monaca. Go on, Mr. Burton.
Well, as your chief explains it, Mr. President, the main difficulty of law enforcement here is one of tools.
Weapons, you mean?
Yes, Mr. President.
I can hardly agree, Monaca. It was one man who incited this riot. Surely, if you find him, it will take no more than one weapon to arrest him.
Admitted, Mr. President, but one man is but a single grain in the sands of unrest that surround us. Had I weapons, an efficient police force, I would soon quell this anti-Americanism in our country.
The force quells nothing. Or do you agree with my chief, Mr. Burton?
Well, after all, when I came here to take up my consular post a year ago, I was kidnapped, held for 5 hours by insurgents.
Yes, that is a painful reminder, Mr. Burton.
It might well have developed into a serious international incident if it hadn't been for my prompt liberation by Chief Monaca here and his officers.
I know that, Mr. Burton, and I was grateful to you for minimizing the affair to your government.
Then why not listen to Mr. Burton's advice now?
You both urge me to request the United States government to send us arms and possibly even advisors to help us administer the internal security of Tabasuland. Is that it?
Exactly, Mr. President. Do that, and we will be able to cope with any disorders that arise, no matter how grave they may be.
I'm afraid I must still disagree with you, gentlemen. But I am well aware that there is much discontent in the country, and that in some manner that discontent has been channeled against America, Mr. Burton.
In that case, why
importing American arms and advisors would do nothing but crystallize the unrest, put your country in the light of an invader. No, Mr. Burton, before I take any such step, I want to discover the reason for this sudden upsurge, this hatred many of my people have for all that is American. If you or your government can assist us in this, I will gladly accept your help. That, Mr. Burton, you can report to Washington.
This way, Carter.
Right behind you, Mr. Peters.
Mr. Harding, this is Agent Lincoln Carter. How do you do, Carter?
Hello, Mr. Harding.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
Will you want me, Chief? No, Peters. I'd rather have you set about arranging the details of Carter's transportation, if you will. I'll get right on it, Mr. Harding.
Doesn't sound as though I'm going to be in Washington very long, Mr. Harding.
No, you won't be, Carter. Not if you're the right man for this job we have.
I hope I am, sir.
Now, let's see. According to your personnel record, you went to Howard University, got a B.A. and M.A. there.
That's right.
Then you did postgraduate work at Columbia, earning the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, huh?
Yes, sir.
Your thesis for your doctorate was on African languages and dialects. Is that correct?
Correct, Mr. Harding. But
you speak these various dialects?
Many of them. The study of African culture and history has been sort of a hobby with me.
Oh?
Something like a Mayflower descendant tracing his antecedents.
I see. Well, tell me, do you know much about the country of Tabasuland?
If it doesn't sound too immodest, quite a bit. As one of the few Negro republics outside of Liberia, I've naturally been interested in it.
Yes, so is the State Department.
Yes, I know. I've been reading in the papers about the recent outbreaks of anti-Americanism there.
You have any opinions on that?
Well, frankly, I've been puzzled. The history of that country has always oriented it toward America. We've helped and aided her in many ways. Why this sudden outburst should occur is beyond me.
Now, come over here, Carter. Take a look at this map. Let's consider the question from the viewpoint of geography.
What do you mean?
Well, Tabasuland could be the eastern doorway to Africa. A foothold there, and any power from the east could gradually spread throughout the entire continent.
Oh, you think Russia
Now,
might...
thinking is unimportant. It's knowledge that counts. But if the State Department's suspicions are true, it means a reformulation of our policy in that area of the world.
I can understand that, sir.
And it's going to be up to you, Carter, to find out if those suspicions are true.
The job you were speaking of?
Yes. Now, you'll work undercover among the citizens of Tabasuland. I want you to find out and report where this anti-American feeling is arising from, and whether it's being provoked deliberately.
I see, sir.
Now, because of the nature of communications in the country, you'll have to transmit your reports by diplomatic pouch.
Through the consul there?
Yes, that's right. He'll be notified to allow you the use of the pouch.
Well, what about identification? Will I carry any with me?
No, except for one simple device to establish your first contact with the consul.
What will that be, sir?
This pencil. Now, wait. I'll break it. There. You take this half.
Right, sir.
I'll see that our consul in Tabasuland gets the other half. When you present the matching half, That will be your identification.
Then I take it I'm not to report to the consul immediately.
No. In fact, don't get in touch with him until you've compiled as complete a report as you can on the situation.
Yes, sir.
Frankly, Carter, if what we suspect is true, your usefulness will be very short-lived after that first report, because the other side has espionage agents as well.
I understand, Mr. Harding.
Now, I know I don't have to stress the importance of this mission to you, Carter, so good luck. And remember, take no unnecessary chances. You may be facing a crafty and dangerous enemy.
You are listening to the case of the Carbon Consul on Counterspy. This Sunday marks the premiere of The Big Show on NBC. Not just any big show, it's the big show. NBC's hour and a half of comedy, music, and drama, the best of each. The Big Show will be heard every Sunday evening over most of these stations, with Tallulah Bankhead as the mistress of ceremonies. Your stars for this Sunday's broadcast include Jimmy Durante, Fred Allen, Ethel Merman, Frankie Lane, Mindy Carson, Meredith Wilson, Danny Thomas, and a host of others. All this and Tallulah, too. No wonder it's The Big Show. Now, back to Counterspy.
Yes?
I would speak to the American consul.
Just like that. Do you think the American consul speaks to any native who walks in from the street?
He will speak with me, woman.
Indeed. Then in that case, what name shall I announce?
None.
None? You haven't even got a name?
No one much less tongue than you have. Take this to your master, woman. He will see me at once.
A stub of a pencil. Hardly an impressive introduction.
Must I beg you to take it in?
I want one each for the authorities here, President Dinard and Police Chief Monaca. And, of course, be sure to send a copy to the African desk of the State Department, Washington. They may want to take drastic action.
If Mr. Peters is in the Counterspy Statistical Department, will he please report to Mr. Harding immediately? If Mr. Peters is in the Counterspy Statistical Department, will he please...
Hello, Mr. Harding. I didn't think you'd gotten back from the State Department so quickly.
Everything happens quickly these days, Peters.
More trouble overseas?
Yes.
Asia?
This time, Africa. But it's all part of the same picture. Tobasso-land, one of the few non-colonial countries on that continent.
Oh, yes. The papers yesterday. Anti-American riots.
Yeah. Bad for us.
Is the State Department going to take any action, Chief?
Well, they may have to eventually. But first, they want to get a better picture of what's happening in that country.
So?
You, of course, are free to read the report, Mr. Burton.
Thank you. I shall.
You rang, Mr. Burton?
Yes. Bring in the diplomatic pouch, please.
Yes, Mr. Burton.
Now, Mr. Carter, is there any other way I can be of assistance to your mission?
At the moment, no.
Well, suppose I have occasion to get in touch with you.
You shouldn't have, but if you do, I'm staying at a small shack, number 13 Garden Alley.
The pouch, Mr. Burton.
Oh, thank you, Rita. Rita, in the future, when this gentleman calls, he's to be admitted immediately.
Yes, Mr. Burton. I'll make certain he's admitted in the future.
That is, if I come anymore.
Don't tell me your first call is to be your last.
It may well be, Mr. Burton. It may well be. Hello. It is Police Chief Monaca who speaks. Oh, yes. I see. He knows much? Bad. What? You know where he is. Excellent. The address? 13 Garden Alley.
It will be taken care of immediately. Goodbye. Banada.
Yes, Chief Manaka.
There is work for you.
More Americans arriving in our land?
Yes.
It will be simple. Each successive riot becomes easier to incite. I only hope they are as apt targets as those Walter's tourists were.
This is not work for a sharp tongue, but a sharp blade.
Blade?
Yes. This American is no tourist, but a spy and of our color.
Oh?
He must die. There will undoubtedly be a great uproar on his death. So it will be best if you take to the jungles after the job is done.
Yes, Malaka.
I will get word to you when it is safe to return.
As you say.
Now take your blade and call on the man. His address is 13 Garden Alley.
Kerosene lamps. There. Only... Well, I brought only 2 feet in with me. Yet I see 2 more peeking from beneath that curtain. Very tiny feet, too. I suggest the owner of them come out before I put a bullet through that curtain. What is it? Such a pleasure and a surprise. Seems I won't need my gun after all.
Hardly.
Come a little closer to the lamp, please. The flickering kerosene light scarcely does you justice. To what do I owe the pleasure of this visit?
Curiosity.
A woman has much of that. You were expecting somebody?
No.
Well, I certainly wasn't. We shall see.
You've got the knife!
No, you don't.
Watch out!
I will cut your heart out! Just so won't.
The lamp is falling!
Let go!
The floor! The curtain! Fire!
What the devil? Orissa?
Mr. Burton, that man who called on you today.
What about him? What are you doing here at this time of night?
I passed the place where he was staying. His shack is in flames. The whole native quarter is going up. I thought...
You thought right, girl. Come in.
I didn't know whether or not...
Call Chief Manaka. Tell him about the fire. Say I'll meet him there and explain everything. This may have grave international repercussions. Manaka.
Mr. Burton.
What happened? Orissa said there was a fire, but the whole block burned to the ground.
Our native quarters do not resist fire very well.
And obvious safety.
Fortunately, we have it under control now.
The drums, the chanting, what are they for?
To appease the fire gods. Many of my countrymen still place their faith in the ancient customs of their fathers. I myself prefer water to fight fire.
Well, at the moment, the drums are useful. I think we can talk safely under their cover.
We can, Burton. And we have nothing to fear.
The Counterspy agent is dead?
Yes. We recovered his body. Bonada's knife deep in his heart.
You have a most efficient sergeant, Manaka.
Your country, and I don't mean America...
Naturally.
...will pay well for this. I hope.
Extremely well.
What about the report you told me about over the telephone? Will that reach the Counterspy chief?
I shall see that it does. But it will be my version of what's happening in this country, not his agent.
Good.
And that, coupled with the death of this agent, will force President Denard to request American arms and men. And that should provide you with a revolutionary situation that you can exploit to the utmost.
And I shall, Mr. Burton. As long as you continue to make it worth my while.
I'll continue. With good fortune and a little effort, we may be able to turn this incident into a long and costly guerrilla war, involving the great United States.
Mr. Burton?
Oh, Orissa, I'm glad you waited here.
The fire. Was anyone...
His body was found in the shack. The man who was here.
Oh.
Get a pencil and paper, please. I want to dictate a cablegram immediately. The address is Mr. David Harding, Counterspy Headquarters, Washington, D.C.
Mr. Harding. Mr. Harding.
Oh, you made good time, Peter. Did you get all the material?
Here it is in this envelope, Chief. The complete personnel records of all employees at our Tabassalan consular office.
Good. Now, I don't know how long I'll be gone, so you take over from me here.
Right, Chief.
If anything urgent comes up, get in touch with me through the consulate.
All right, sir. And good luck. I hope you manage to make someone pay for Carter's death.
I intend to, Peter.
So long, Chief.
Mr. Harding?
Yes, that's right. Mr. Burton?
Yes, sir. I have a car right over here.
Good.
We'll go direct to my office, unless you would rather pay your respects to the Foreign Office of Tabassalan first.
No, Mr. Burton, your office first. I want to interview all the employees there before taking any other action.
And this, Mr. Harding, is the only employee left to interview. My personal secretary, Orissa.
How do you do, miss? You be seated.
Thank you.
I imagine you want this to be private.
If you don't mind, Mr. Burton.
Not at all, Mr. Harding. I'll be outside if you want me.
Now, Miss Orissa, let's talk about how you were so opportunely on hand for the fire that killed our counterspy agent, Mr. Carter. Mr. Burton.
Yes?
I've finished here. I wonder if you could arrange an audience for me with the president and the police chief of Tabassalan.
Right away, Mr. Harding. Will you want me there?
Yes, Mr. Burton. I definitely want you there.
Mr. Harding, I can only express my deep regret at the death of your man. It will only add more fuel to the strain between our two countries.
Perhaps not, Mr. President.
Oh?
You're aware of what Mr. Carter's mission here was?
To investigate the rise of feeling against the United States among my countrymen.
Yes, that's right.
Had he made any reports to you before this tragedy?
One, which I read just this morning.
May we inquire as to his findings, Mr. Harding?
Of course, Chief Managa. He reported that the hatred of the United States arose out of local circumstances, that there was no outside provocation, and recommended that the United States aid your country in dealing with this by sending weapons and advisors.
You see, Mr. President, it is as I and Mr. Burton have been saying.
I cannot believe it.
I know how you must feel, Mr. President, but when his conclusion is the same as ours, nothing remains for you but to take our advice.
I wouldn't say that, Mr. Burton.
What do you mean?
You see, the report I read was not written by my agent Carter.
What?
That's right, Chief Monaca.
Then who was it written by?
Mr. Burton, our eminent American consul.
Me?
That's right, Mr. Burton, and I've got two witnesses to that fact. All right, Orissa, come in and bring the gentleman with you.
Hello, Mr. Burton.
Carter. That's right, Mr. Burton.
Mr. Harding, Burton's got a gun.
Look out, Chief. No, you don't.
Oh.
Carter, see about him.
He's out cold, Mr. Harding.
You attacked him, your own consul?
Yes, Mr. President, but he was not the real American consul.
I don't understand.
You remember, Mr. President, Burton was abducted briefly when he first arrived here.
Why, yes.
And rescued by your chief, Monaca.
Mr. Harding.
The game's up, Monaca. You were assisting another foreign power, the power whom the so-called Burton was spying for.
You sent that man to kill me, Chief Monaca.
Orissa recognized him as Sergeant Bonata, a member of your own police force.
And when Carter killed him instead and the fire started, he decided to use that fact as a trap for you and Burton.
But how did Carter know Burton was on the other side?
Because Burton was the only one besides Orissa who knew Carter's address.
You'll never...
Stop him, Carter.
You're not getting away. Let go.
Well, you've got a nice right there, Carter. Mr. President, Menaka is a citizen of your country. I'm sure you'll know how to deal with him.
I will, Mr. Harding, but please, one more point.
Yes.
If Menaka and Burton were the instigators of the anti-Americanism, why did they keep insisting on my seeking your country's aid in suppressing that feeling?
Because they were aware, Mr. President, that once such a policy was started, we would have to keep sending more aid and more arms. It would have been another drain on America's might, and there's nothing the power he represented would like better than drain off our strength to weaken us for any major conflict that may eventually come. Well, this at least is one spot where they failed in that strategy, and we'll see that they fail again.
Tune in this Sunday, November 5th, and every Sunday thereafter for Counterspy. Please consult your newspaper for the exact time. Listen this Sunday for the exciting Case of the Mental Murderer.
The secret tip was correct. The hostile secret agents planned to destroy the sanity of a certain American. Who that man was and how we combated the scheme is the subject of our next report. Listen on Sunday to
Case of the Mental Murderer on Counterspy. Tonight's Counterspy program originated in New York, was directed by Marks B. Loeb, dramatized by Palma Thompson, and featured Don McLaughlin and Mandel Kramer. Counterspy is produced by Phillips H. Lord.
3 chimes mean good times on